Mom. Found the gold Jackson. Parasparrow quickly ran up to Charlotte Linlin. The tension on his face couldn't be concealed. In the past, pirates who broke into the world without permission would not end well. Only this time is an exception. Parasparrow and others are facing a big enemy. Mama. Charlotte Linlin sat up, and she said coldly, since he dares to come, don't even think about leaving alive. Immediately, Charlotte Linlin assembled all the children and cadres. The opponent is Roger, so you have to go all out. Because she knows how strong Roger and his gang are. Mr. Rayleigh, how long are we going to stay here? Said Buggy in horror. He knew they were playing bait to lure Charlotte Linlin out. This trick lures the snake out of the hole and diverts the tiger away from the mountain. The purpose is to buy time for Roger. They are only used as bait, and they are about to face a real monster. Rayleigh said with a smile, Roger will be back soon. Kozuki Oden laughed loudly, even if the battle fails, I will fight them at worst. I haven't had a serious fight for a long time. Buggy was speechless for a while. However, looking at the members of the Roger Pirates, except for Buggy and Kozuki, as well as Momonosuke and Hyori, the rest are gearing up. Are they really bait? Shanks is no exception. Shanks' eyes were fixed on the direction of the Cake Island. Charlotte Linlin led more than a dozen ships and left Cake Island. This is all her current strength. Before the era of great pirates started, there were not many talents that New World could recruit. And many of Charlotte Linlin's children are still very young. After Charlotte Linlin left, a small boat stopped at Cake Island. On Cake Island, the guard task is homies made by Charlotte Linlin. However, Roger just glared. With a flash of red light in his eyes, all homies on the island rolled their eyes and fainted to the ground. Even the pillars and walls of the houses on the island have cracks. This is Roger's Conqueror's hockey. Roger boarded the Cake Island and walked all the way into the Cake Castle. In Charlotte Linlin's treasure room, Roger took out the prepared white cloth and rubbed the historical text of the road sign. Here they come. At this time, Buggy was already standing on the mast, and he looked into the distance with binoculars. When he found that the Big O pirates were approaching, he reminded everyone nervously and hastily. Blue blue. Blue blue. At this time, the phone bug kept calling. Rayleigh picked up the phone bug's microphone. Brother, it's here. The phone bug mimicked Roger's voice. Then we'll wait for you at the agreed place. At this moment, Rayleigh turned to look at the crowd. Are you going to retreat? I really want to fight. Me too. After a while of regret, the crew of the Roger Pirates chose to evacuate. At the same time, Charlotte Linlin and others also found the gold Jackson left. Mom. They're running away. Owen said to Charlotte Linlin. Run away? Charlotte Linlin narrowed her eyes. It wasn't the first day she knew Roger's group. These people can't be here for tourism. After punching in and taking pictures, we retreated urgently. Oops. Longbread suddenly thought of a possibility. Longbread, as Charlotte Linlin's military advisor, hurriedly said to Charlotte Linlin. Linlin, we have been tricked. When Charlotte Linlin took the people back to Cake Island, they found homies fainting all over the place. Soon, Charlotte Linlin discovered that the door of the treasure house had been split open. There are fewer gold jewels in the treasure house. These are not the point. The point is that there is ink on the road sign history text. Thief. This damned thief. Charlotte Linlin was in a state of extreme anger. Chasing now. In anger, Charlotte Linlin chose to pursue. However, when Charlotte Linlin pursued the Golden Jackson, Roger and his gang had already fled. On the day Victor returned to Mariajoy, Sengoku came to the G1 branch and regained command. Sengoku's strategy is only one, only for the Roger Pirates. As for Charlotte Linlin's Big O pirate group and other pirate groups encountered along the way, we can leave it alone for the time being. An enemy of an enemy can become a temporary friend. Sengoku wants to create a balanced sea, and Charlotte Linlin and others will be a key link. However, Sengoku soon got bad news. Roger got it? Sengoku frowned when he learned from CP0 that Roger had obtained the second road sign history text. Sengoku is very clear that now Roger is getting closer and closer to the final place. After a few days, Mariajoy. Wright held the newspaper and said to Victor with a smile. Senior, Sengoku has failed again. This time, many battleships were lost. Wright is gloating now. Who put Sengoku in charge of hunting down Roger? Victor has no expression on his face, he knows Sengoku can't catch Roger. And, now that Sengoku had failed before Wano-kuni, there was no chance. Just as Victor expected, Roger continued sailing and they came to Wano-kuni. The closer you get to the last isle, the more dangerous the journey becomes. To be on the safe side, Kozuki got off the boat with his children. Kozuki Oden decided to keep traveling. Subsequently, Roger and others found the third stele of the historical text of the landmark in Wano-kuni. Then, the Roger pirates came to Zou, Ko-chang. In Zou, they found the last stele of the historical text of the signpost. Not only that, Kozuki Oden also discovered the family crest of the Kozuki family in Zou, and confirmed that the Kozuki family had become brothers with the fur tribe. Although Marine's pursuit of Roger has never stopped, the Roger pirates still dominate the Grand Line and reach the final island. The final island. After Roger and others learned the truth about the big secret treasure, they laughed heartily with the crew. And, Roger named the final island, Raftel. After that, Roger began to be called One Piece by the world, and all the things Roger got were collectively called One Piece, the unique big secret treasure in the world. Victor held the newspaper and looked at the propaganda in the newspaper. One Piece Roger. Not Gordy Roger. Writing is the most wonderful thing in the world. Victor looked at the contents of the newspaper and smiled slightly. The world government focused the world's attention on One Piece and the big secret treasure One Piece, but deliberately covered up the anonymity of D related to it. Roger conquered the Grand Line, an unprecedented feat, earning him the title of One Piece. However, One Piece is not what Roger calls himself. Roger and others also learned through newspapers that Roger became One Piece because of his wealth, fame, and status. Roger is very satisfied with the title of One Piece. However, this is actually a conspiracy. Because of this name, it will attract the attention of Marine and pirates. As the saying goes, shoot the bird that stands out. Marine has good reason to get rid of Roger. As for the pirates, in order to steal Roger's treasure, they will naturally attack Roger. Therefore, the title of One Piece is obviously for pitting Roger. In fact, for Roger, the title of One Piece is not important. As for the concerns of Marine and pirates, it doesn't matter. Roger made his dream come true. However, his time is running out. What he has to think about is how to use his remaining time. Now, the journey is over and it's time to say goodbye. So, Roger announced the disbandment of the Roger pirates. In fact, the crew had already guessed in advance. However, when Roger said the word disbanded, the crew still couldn't stand it. Roger chose to disembark first, and when he disembarked, the crew behind him shed tears, because this farewell is a farewell forever. Roger's crew knew that Roger's life was numbered. Before disembarking, he took a lot of medicine from the ship Dr. Kuroka's. Soon after, a small island. Roger and Whitebeard sat opposite each other, drinking and chatting. Sakura flowers are flying. The two drank more and more, and before they knew it, they had already drank several jars of wine. At this time, Roger told Whitebeard the secret of the D family. Whitebeard couldn't help laughing when he heard the words, "Kulalala. Is this the truth of world history? It's really nonsense." Roger said, "One day, someone will overturn this era." Whitebeard looked at Roger seriously. "What do you want to do?" Roger replied, "You'll find out when the time comes." After Roger saw Whitebeard for the last time, he and his wife, Potter Cass D. Rouge, retreated to South Blue's Batalilla Island. During this period of time, the world government completely lost Roger's whereabouts. Although the world government never stopped the hunt, they found nothing. Victor knew that Roger would appear a year later, and then he would turn himself in to start the era of great pirates. And before the age of great voyages begins, what Victor has to do is to accumulate strength. Although he is very powerful, he thinks that he will not be weaker than anyone, but if he wants to become the king of the world, his current power is too weak. Also, Victor needs allies. So far, there is only one candidate for the best ally, and that is Akainu. Akainu's character is destined to be at odds with Sengoku and others. And it is impossible for Akainu to obey 5 elders absolutely. Therefore, win over Akainu, let Akainu in his camp, and the two join forces to deal with Sengoku and others, thus becoming the #1 force in naval headquarters. This is Victor's current plan. Victor is currently Admiral. Although he still needs to be on duty in Mariajoy, with his power, he can help Akainu and others become Vice Admiral in advance. This can be regarded as a favor. Sailed continuously at sea for 1.5 months. The sailors of the Special Forces finally returned to the base to rest with exhaustion. In the past, they would have gone straight to the cafeteria, ordered some cold beer, asked the kitchen to prepare some food, and then got drunk. However, not anymore. Their current commander is Akainu. Akainu is a very rigid person, lifeless every day, and that gloomy face is scary. The Secret Service sailors miss Victor. When Victor was the commander in G1, they not only had high benefits, but also had a good atmosphere in the base, which was not depressing at all. Of course, these words can only be held back, they dare not say it. Akainu went back to the dormitory. His dormitory is simple and clean. The only decoration in the dormitory is a potted plant. Every time Akainu comes back from the sea, he will trim it to restore it to its original appearance. Sakazuki. At this time, Ghost Spider and Dogman walked in. Akainu didn't look at the two of them, but concentrated on trimming the potted plants. I just heard that you are going to be promoted to Rear Admiral. Ghost Spider said to Akainu. Although Victor in the same class has been promoted to Admiral, Ghost Spider and others are not envious. Because Victor is different and evil, there is no need to compare with Victor. Akainu said calmly. I received a fax from Victor. Huh? Ghost Spider and Dogman froze for a moment. They just heard that Akainu was going to be promoted, but they didn't expect it to be related to Victor. After trimming the potted plants, Akainu took out the fax from his pocket and handed it to Ghost Spider and Dogman. After reading the fax, the two froze in place. Not only Akainu is going to be promoted, but even Ghost Spider and Dogman are going to be promoted. Obviously, Victor is helping them. Why is he so nice to us? The Ghost Spider murmured. Dogman pondered for a while. Could it be that they want to win us over and let us enter the Blue Ocean Club? The Blue Ocean Club branch of the G1 branch is already a large-scale organization. Now, if you want to join the Blue Ocean Club, you need to apply in advance and undergo a review. If the audit fails, you cannot join the Blue Ocean Club. It's possible, but that's fine. Ghost Spider said, I heard that Kuzan has also been promoted to Commodore. So fast. Dogman was a little surprised. Ghost Spider said, I heard that Mr. Zephyr, Sengoku Admiral, and Vice Admiral Garp all appreciate him. Why doesn't Teacher Zephyr recommend us? Dogman was a little dissatisfied. They are also students of Zephyr. Ghost Spider said, fortunately, Victor supports us. Akainu didn't make a sound. A year passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Inside the Marshal's office, Sora and Sengoku sat facing each other. Their expressions are solemn, because they encountered a problem. That was Roger turning himself in. Sora asked Sengoku, why would he do that? Sengoku shook his head. Even if it is called the resourceful general, Sengoku can't figure it out. Kong sighed, and said, since he surrendered himself, let's make it public and execute him publicly. Sengoku nodded, I think so too, at the same time. When the cell door opened, Roger thought it was Garp. After all, Garp had been hunting Roger for years. In the process, the two fought countless times. Unknowingly, Garp established a friendship with Roger, and Garp regarded Roger as his opponent, his lifelong opponent. They were both enemies and friends. You really came, Roger smiled, ready to look up at Garp. From the time he turned himself in, all of Marine's reactions were within his expectations. However, the smile on Roger's face froze. Victor walked to the cell, and he looked at Roger blankly. Looks like I've let you down, Victor said to Roger. Roger smiled when he heard that. This is the first time we met. Yes. Victor took out a cigarette from his pocket and lit one. He said calmly, I thought about whether I was going to find you and beat you. Ha ha ha. Roger laughed out loud after listening. He didn't mean to belittle Victor. Victor was able to beat the Golden Lion one-on-one. This is enough to prove Victor's strength. Only in his early 20s, he does have the confidence to be proud. However, I thought about it and held back. Victor paused for a while, and he took a deep breath. Although after defeating you, you can get a very high prestige, but it's only limited to this. Roger looked at Victor curiously. There was absolute confidence in Victor's words. It seemed that defeating Roger was a matter of course. Hearing you say that, I also feel a little pity. Roger chuckled lightly. If we met earlier, it would be fun to fight with you. Fights, adventures, parties, drinking, and more. Everything has to be fun for Roger. Even in the face of death, he has to face it with a smile. It's a pity. Victor nodded slightly. A man who can be recognized by the strong all over the world. If I can defeat you, then I will be recognized as the strongest man in the world. You seek fame too much, Roger said with a smile. Victor said. Everyone has something they want. For example, you don't have much time, but you still want to subvert the world. After Roger heard the words, the smile on his face disappeared and was replaced by seriousness, and he looked at Victor with vigilance in his eyes. Are you worried that I know your intentions? Victor asked Roger calmly. Roger said nothing. Put away your useless worries, I won't interfere with you. Victor smoked a cigarette and said, on the contrary, I want to thank you. Thank you. Roger was puzzled. I don't need to tell you the reason, lest you tell Garp. Victor smiled slightly. Okay, I'm leaving. Thank you for bringing a new era to the world. When Roger heard this, his expression was serious. He could tell that Victor was a very dangerous man. His last sentence had already told Roger, I know what you want to do. Just as Roger expected, Garp did come to see Roger. When Garp saw Roger, there was no joy or excitement on Garp's face, but a sense of loss. Garp has made Roger his fateful opponent. Now that the old enemy has surrendered, life will become boring. Roger looked at Garp and said to Garp, Garp, I have a baby. Huh? Garp froze. Roger actually has a son? Roger looked at the dumbfounded Garp, and continued, the child in my belly is innocent, I will leave my child to you. Why did you leave it to me? Garp was stunned, and he questioned Roger. Roger said to Garp, the relationship between the two of us is based on countless fights. It is true that we are enemies, but the other party is just as trustworthy as our companions. This is an affirmation of Garp's character. Of course, there are other reasons why Roger asked Garp. Give your child to Garp so that he can grow up safely. Who would have thought that the son of One Piece would grow up under the protection of marine heroes? You guy, you always create problems for people. Garp frowned. Roger laughed. Ah, Garp sighed. Okay, I promise you. Roger will be executed soon. After Roger was executed, the child was indeed innocent. Garp couldn't bear to involve an innocent child. And Garp knew very well that if he didn't help Roger, then Roger's wife and children would definitely be killed. World government will never let them go. By the way, there is one more thing, Roger said to Garp with a serious face. Garp froze for a moment and asked, what's the matter? Roger said, before you came, Victor also came. Victor? What is he here for? Garp was at a loss. Roger said, he is dangerous, you have to beware of him. Garp heard the words, his mind was full of question marks. This is too riddle. Of course, it is impossible for Roger to tell Garp that he will use the opportunity of his public execution to start the era of great pirates. Even less likely to tell Garp that Victor already knew his intentions. The only thing he can do now is tell Garp to be careful with Victor. That's all. When Garp returned to Naval Headquarters, he happened to meet Victor. Garp subconsciously stopped. Victor stopped too. There were only the two of them in the aisle. The two stood facing each other. Their eyes met, and Garp seemed to want to read Victor's inner thoughts from Victor's eyes. Victor asked calmly and politely, Garp uncle, what's the matter? Nothing. Garp shook his head, then walked forward on his own. Victor also stepped forward. The two passed by. Garp suddenly stopped. Why are you going to see Roger? He still couldn't help asking. Victor replied, it's a pity that I didn't have the chance to arrest him with my own hands. Really? Garp nodded. It's a pity. After speaking, Garp walked back to the office. Victor's mouth curled into a smile. He knew that Roger must have conveyed his feelings to Garp. I believe that Roger will remind Garp and let Garp beware of Victor. However, in order to start a new era, Roger will definitely not tell the whole story. And that's what Victor wanted. Make Garp suspicious of him. This is Victor's purpose. Victor walked all the way to the marshal's office. At this point, Sora is waiting for Victor. Victor sat in front of Sora. Kong said to Victor, you go to the town of Rog yourself and take charge of this public execution. Victor is now Marine's super general. Victor personally supervised the execution, which would naturally have a deterrent effect. Understood. Victor nodded. Okay, there's nothing else to do. After Kuang finished speaking, he was busy with other things. At this time, Victor was not in a hurry to leave. He said to Kuang, after the execution is over, I want to rest for a while. Although Admiral is a unit directly under the world's nobles, and often has to work, it is impossible not to give vacations. Hearing that Victor was going on vacation, Kong Dao didn't hesitate. Well, it's approved. Thank you, Marshal. Victor wanted to take advantage of the vacation time to raise a loyal dog. The port of the town of Rog has a triangular arch with the words Logtown on it. There are various shops on the surrounding streets, and there are porches in front of the shops, which are crowded with people. Among them, the square is the most crowded place in Rogtown, in front of the town hall. One Piece Roger's execution platform is also set here. Although the execution has not yet started, Roger has not yet appeared, and the heat is still hot, but in order to have a close look at Roger, the One Piece King, people came to the square early and crowded the square. There are many young people mixed in the crowd, including Garp's son, the future commander-in-chief of the Revolutionary Army Munkia Dorag, is being invited to be Shichibukai's sand crocodile Shak Lok Dar. In addition, Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo, Gecko Moria, Hakai Mihawk and others are also on the scene. Shanks and Buggy mingled with the crowd, waiting for Roger to show up. In order to watch the execution of Roger, the One Piece, the prices of catering and accommodation in Rog Town have increased by more than 5 times. Even so, the supply is still in short supply. Coming. Look quickly. One Piece Roger. Finally, someone in the crowd exclaimed, and under the watchful eyes of thousands of people, the execution team escorting Roger appeared. On both sides of the road, Marine soldiers are on standby to maintain order on the road. Roger walked forward with a smile on his face. Although his hands were in handcuffs, he walked like a guy returning from a general. Captain. Buggy couldn't stop crying when he saw the heavy shackles on Roger's body. In order not to expose himself, he had to cover his mouth and try not to make a sound. The same is true for Shanks on the side. He clenched his fists with both hands, his body was shaking non-stop, he gritted his teeth, but the tears couldn't stop flowing. Buggy and Shanks have different feelings for Roger. They grew up on Roger's boat since they were young. Roger is like their father, teaching them knowledge, fighting methods, and the pursuit of dreams. In the team escorting Roger, there was a carriage behind. A man sat in the carriage. The man wears a white suit with an admiral rank on his justice cape. It's the Admiral Black Horse. If anyone dares to come to Roger's rescue, they won't be able to escape. After people on both sides of the street found Victor, they began to discuss. Although the Roger pirates have been disbanded, the people who eat melons are still looking forward to the Roger pirates robbing the court. Victor sat in the carriage, his eyes flitting casually through the crowd. Drago and Victor exchanged glances. After their eyes made brief contact, Victor looked at the others as if nothing had happened. Victor sees Mihawk in the crowd again, and Doflamingo hiding behind the wall. Shak Lok, who looked at Victor curiously, and Moria, who was dead or alive. Victor's face was expressionless. Roger had already stepped onto the execution platform. Audiences around the square could see Roger's face clearly. 2 executioners with long knives came behind Roger, waiting for Victor to give the execution order. Victor took out the pocket watch on his chest, and when it was 12 o'clock, the execution could begin. One Piece, where did you hide the treasure you found? Is it really the big secret treasure hidden in the Grand Line? In the audience, one of the audience asked Roger loudly. What this person said immediately attracted everyone's attention. Shut up. At this point, the executioner began to yell at the audience. However, that spectator didn't care about the warning at all, and he continued to question, that one and only big secret treasure. One Piece. After hearing the man's question, Roger let out a ha 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 laugh. Do you want my treasure? If you want it, I will give it to you. Go find it. My treasures are all there. Roger's words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Every audience present was afraid of missing a word. The still young smoker stared at Roger with wide eyes. The executioner was afraid that Roger would tell more secrets, so he started the execution directly. 2 sharp blades plunged into Roger's body. At this moment, everyone present opened their mouths wide open. They are not afraid, but excited. Oh. It was as if they heard the treasure calling them. Although Roger was stabbed through the body by a sharp knife, there was a smile on his face. Because he saw hope in the eyes of people pursuing freedom. Captain Buggy could no longer control the situation and burst into tears. The same goes for Shanks. Saboti Archipelago. After returning from the town of Rog, Victor was on vacation at the Saboti Archipelago. Victor owns a villa in Saboti Archipelago. The villa is sold for more than 1.5 billion pele. However, Victor did not buy this villa, but someone gave him a gift. The person who gave Victor the gift was the boss behind the Saboti Archipelago Human Trafficking Association, King Ferdinand VI. Last year Victor conducted a 3-day manhunt on the Saboti Archipelago on the grounds of capturing Roger. More than 10,000 people were arrested just to catch wanted criminals and suspects. Human trafficking workers are among them. Only illegal things make money in this world. Not to mention the commodities of human trafficking, the channels of these slaves are not clean. Therefore, whether or not to convict human trafficking depends entirely on Enies Lobby's mood. In order to get people, Pei Din and V spent a lot of money. Moreover, in order to prevent similar things from happening again, King Ferdinand VI wisely donated 2 billion pele to the Marine Disabled and Veteran Foundation. In addition, there is a mansion worth 1.5 billion pele. At this moment, Victor's attention was on the slaves' files and materials. Although Victor accepted the bribe from Ferdinand VI, he had a request to Ferdinand VI. That is the need to hand over the product information of the human trafficking fair. Victor needs to control human trafficking and cut off some valuable kids. Give them to the celestial dragons as playthings? That would be such a waste. After flipping through the files, Victor finally found the person he was looking for. Bring her, Victor said to Wright. Wright looked at the girl's profile. Stella. After Wright silently read the girl's name, he picked up the phone and contacted the Human Trafficking Association. Soon, the staff of the Human Trafficking Association sent Stella to Victor's mansion. Stella was wearing only a sleeveless blouse with a collar around her neck. She was led all the way to Victor by the staff of the Human Trafficking Association. Master Victor, the man has already brought it. The staff of the Human Trafficking Association thought Victor had taken a fancy to Stella. Everyone has emotions and desires, and Admiral is no exception. The staff thought to themselves. Teso is carrying a bouquet of flowers, which he wants to give to the most beautiful girl in the world. One day last year, Teso suffered a crushing defeat in the casino and was caught and sold by human traffickers. And the guys he thought were friends fled immediately. Although Teso was beaten badly, he tried his best to escape. In the process of escaping, Teso met a woman named Stella in the human trafficking market. She thought his singing was great, and they hit it off. Teso decides to set Stella free. So Teso stopped doing bad things, worked from morning to night and forgot to eat and sleep, and saved money to save her. However, Teso did not see Stella today. Where's Stella? In desperation, Teso reached out and grabbed a staff member by the collar. The staff member was wearing a black suit and was tall and burly, while Teso was too thin in front of the staff. As a result, the staff threw Teso away. Where is Stella? After being thrown away, Teso got up and continued to entangle. The staff got impatient and gave Teso a punch. The fist hit Teso hard in the abdomen. Teso curled up like a boiled shrimp. He is in pain. However, he still wanted to struggle. The staff kicked Teso several times in succession. His leather shoes are very pointy and his feet are heavy. Teso immediately vomited blood. The staff didn't want to kill people either, not because they were afraid of causing trouble, but because they didn't want to clean up the corpses. After the staff left, the woman who was locked in a closet with Stella in the past whispered, "I heard it was bought by Victor Admiral." Victor Admiral. After hearing that he was bought by Victor, Tesolo's eyes widened. Victor was recently on vacation in the Saboti Archipelago, and he was visited by nobles, officials, and wealthy businessmen every day. Therefore, it is not difficult to inquire about Victor's mansion in Saboti Archipelago. After inquiring around, Teso arrived outside Victor's villa. He waited for a long time outside the villa, watching the people coming and going. At this time, a girl in a white dress appeared in the garden. Teso recognized Stella at a glance. Stella was carrying a plate with black tea and desserts. She came to the pavilion in the yard, arranged the black tea and desserts, and waited in the pavilion. After a while, Victor appeared. People with Victor, and a marine. About the same height as Victor. Victor and Rodney came to the pavilion. As soon as the two sat down, Rodney looked in Tezzolo's direction. His perception is very strong. After Tezzolo was found, he immediately shrank behind the tree in fright, turned around and ran away. Rodney frowned, thinking, is it a reporter? He heard that reporters like to secretly take pictures of the daily life of big shots. Don't talk to him, Victor said with a smile. Yes. Rodney nodded. Victor drank black tea and said, how is the special operations team doing? Rodney replied, according to your order, select elites from various branches to join, and 47 people have been recruited so far. The special operations team is the elite of the Blue Ocean Club. Rodney would rather lack than excess. Well done. Victor affirmed. At this time, Rodney got up and bowed to Victor to thank him, on behalf of my hometown, thank you Lord Victor. Rodney recently received a letter of thanks from his hometown. Rodney's hometown built an orphanage and nursing home. The donor is the Marine Disabled and Veterans Foundation, and the orphanage and nursing home are named after Rodney's big brother. Victor said, if you are free during the holidays, you can go back and enjoy flowers and praise, which is what heroes deserve. Yes. Rodney nodded. Stella stood aside, admiring Victor from the bottom of her heart. Because she could see that Rodney's eyes were full of gratitude. From inner heart. Victor-sama is really great. Stella thought to herself. After sending Rodney away, Victor returned to the villa, and he would choose to take a nap in the afternoon. And Stella will tend the yard. Tezzolo watched for days, watching Victor and Stella. Tezzolo confirmed a safe time. Therefore, Tezzolo took advantage of Victor's lunch break, sneaked over the wall and entered the courtyard, and he came to Stella. Tezzolo, why are you here? Stella asked in surprise. Tezzolo replied, I went to you and they told me you were bought by Victor. Stella and Tezzolo had known each other for over a year and had a close relationship. Tezzolo assured Stella more than once that he would save enough money and give Stella freedom. Well, I was lucky to meet Victor Admiral, Stella said with a happy face. Seeing that you are doing well, I am relieved. Tezzolo looked at Stella's neck. There is no longer a collar around the neck, only. Seeing that Stella was having a good life, Tezzolo couldn't feel happy in his heart. It was because the freedom she wanted was given by another man. And he worked hard for more than a year, but to no avail. After this comparison, the incompetence and frustration produced made Tezzolo very frustrated. Okay. I won't tell you anymore, I still have to clean the yard. Stella is very satisfied with her current job and is very serious. She was by Victor's side, and the word responsibility was what she heard the most. When Victor's subordinates came to see Victor, Victor would always tell them to fulfill their duties. Therefore, Stella felt that it was her duty to do her own job well. Stella. At this time, Tezzolo said to Stella, I will take you out of here and let you live a happy life. Huh. Stella was taken aback when she heard the words, then her eyes widened. I will definitely do it. As soon as Tezzolo finished speaking, he was picked up. At some point, Wright came behind Tezzolo. Do you know each other? Wright asked Stella. Stella nodded. Although you are friends, there are a lot of military secrets in Victor Admiral's mansion, so no one else can get close. After Wright finished speaking, he was about to take Tezzolo out. Tezzolo tried to struggle, but he was like a kitten right now. Bring him up, I want to meet him. At this moment, Victor's voice sounded in Tezzolo's ear. Wright looked to the second floor, and Victor watched them from the balcony on the second floor. Yes. Wright responded, and then took Tezzolo to the study on the second floor. Stella was a little nervous, she followed closely, standing outside the study and waiting. In the study, when Tezzolo saw Victor, his legs felt weak unconsciously. Victor seemed to exude the aura of a monster, just like an ordinary person standing in front of an island-swallowing monster. The brain is blank and the limbs are weak. Victor's feeling to Tezzolo now is completely different from when Tezzolo first met. The down-to-earth hero, the dreaded Demon King. Probably such a big contrast. This is Victor's deliberate intention to scare Tezzolo. Victor asked, what's your relationship with Stella? I'm her friend. Tetsolo knew the use of rich people buying slaves. Especially buying young and beautiful female slaves. In his view, Stella has become Victor's personal property. Although Stella took off her collar and felt very happy, Tetsolo believed that Stella would always be a servant and the property of others. Therefore, he wants to save Stella and give Stella real freedom. Victor said blankly. Then you should know that she is different from the past. I know. Tetsolo clenched his fists. He thought Victor was warning him. Well, you go back, don't come to her in the future, Victor said. After listening to Victor's words, Tetsolo did not leave. He trembled and mustered up his courage, saying, I want to give her freedom. Why? Victor asked. She said I sing well and she is my friend. Tetsolo replied loudly. For this reason? Victor asked blankly. Tetsolo hummed. His mother hated his singing, which hurt him deeply, and his friends abandoned him. Abandoned again and again. Only Stella is an exception. Victor asked. But what can you do now? I'll work harder, save more, and then. At this point, Tetsolo couldn't continue, he became tense, and he looked at Victor awkwardly. Victor smoked a cigarette, and calmly stated Tetsolo's intentions, buy her back from me? Yes. Tetsolo replied. Victor said, but I'm not short of money, and I won't sell her to anyone. After hearing Victor's words, Tetsolo was completely stunned. Money is useful, but not omnipotent, Victor said to Tetsolo. Tetsolo was lost in thought. If celestial dragons bought Stella today, can you buy Stella back from celestial dragons? I know you cherish your friends very much, but if you want to protect what you cherish, if you don't have enough strength, it's all empty talk. Victor's words made Tetsolo completely silent. He knew how small he was and how naive he was. Victor said, go and become stronger, and come to me after you become stronger. Victor did not directly train Tetsolo. Although Tetsolo was very good at making money, that was after he experienced Stella's death, became a slave himself, and was completely blackened. Tetsolo is too tender right now. Needs to be honed. The best way to hone it is to let Tetsolo go for it. I'll be back. This time, Tetsolo turned and left. He wants to become stronger, and only after becoming stronger can he be qualified to negotiate with Victor. Victor watched Tetsolo's back with a smile on his face. He kept Stella by his side, and as long as Stella was still around, Tetsolo would come back. There are some things in this world that money cannot buy. For example, friendship, trust. At least Tetsolo gained friendship and trust from Stella. Victor isn't exactly stalking Tetsolo, though. Victor still asked people to take care of Tetsolo, adding new difficulties to Tetsolo's life and adding more pain to his already painful life. These things are trivial to Victor. Sabaody Archipelago's black and white all rushed to curry favor with him. And the more pains and tribulations experienced, the faster a man grows. After Tetsolo returned, he began to think of ways to make money. Although money cannot buy everything, it is easier to become stronger after becoming rich. So Tetsolo began to find ways to make money, even if it is unscrupulous. When Tetsolo was growing up, many major events happened in the world. For example, after the era of great pirates started, many pirates began to do evil on the Fishmen Island, so Whitebeard took the Fishmen Island as his territory and saved the Fishmen Island. Whitebeard seems to have become the overlord of the new world. The Whitebeard pirates replaced the flying pirates. In addition, the Big O pirate group and Beasts pirates are also expanding. As Marine Admiral, Victor gets more intel. The development of Whitebeard, Big O, and Beasts pirates are all under Marine's supervision. However, Victor doesn't care much about the new world. What Victor really cares about is the capital of Seven Waters. Tom was sentenced to death because he built a ship for Roger. However, as a condition for the design and construction of the sea train, the execution was postponed for 10 years, and Tom's studio began to build the sea train. Victor knew that in Tom's hand, he did hold the blueprint of Pluton. Ancient weapon Pluton, the most ferocious ship in the legend, has the ability to destroy an island with one shot. If you get it in your hand, it can also become your own hole card. Maybe one day in the future, it will come in handy. The capital of Seven Waters. Victor took Stella and others here to play. It's still Victor's vacation, so he can go wherever he wants. At this time, the sea train has already started. Stella marveled at Tom's whimsy while eating roasted water and water meat. Although the sea train has not opened to traffic, The idea of AA laying tracks on the sea has attracted countless passengers. Tom and others are also used to being watched. It's Victor Admiral. Victor Admiral. At this moment, someone in the crowd recognized Victor. Victor is Marine's supernova, the youngest admiral in Marine history. Coupled with his determination to severely punish crimes, he has won the support of many people. Stella is also proud to be by Victor's side. Victor waved his hand and greeted the tourists. His image is very friendly. This is what he needs to shape now. This is the capital of 7 waters and the largest shipyard in the world, not Leinster in South Blue. Victor now has idle baggage. At this time, Tom and others also noticed Victor. Hearing that Marine was coming, Bingshan and the others immediately became vigilant. Victor waved to Tom and others. Seeing that Victor was wearing casual clothes, Tom and others were also relieved. After a while, Tom and others came to Victor. Victor asked Tom, "I heard you built Roger's boat." "Yes." Tom replied. "That's a good ship, you are an excellent shipwright," Victor praised. Without waiting for Tom to be modest, Victor said again, "I heard that you will be executed after you finish building the sea train?" "Yes." Tom and others looked sad. "Absurd verdict," Victor said coldly. Frankie and others had hope in their hearts, maybe there is a turning point. Victor went on to say, "If you need to be sentenced to death because you built a ship for Roger, then the person who provided Roger with food also needs to be sentenced to death. Roger has lived for decades and has been to so many places. If no one provides him with food, then he would have starved to death." Then, Victor said, "The result of this judgment is a manifestation of Marine's incompetence, which makes Marine lose her dignity." "Right," Victor yelled. Right came alive. "Send a fax to the headquarters and tell Kuang what I think. Also, message Eni's lobby in my name. As soon as Tom completes the sea train, he should be pardoned." Victor's words made Tom and the others, who were once in despair, see hope again. At this time, Victor looked at Tom again. "Although a ship is like a weapon, there is no difference between good and evil, but you built Roger a good ship and helped him reach the final place. If you can be pardoned, then I hope you will stop building ships for pirates." There are reasons for this. Frankie, Bingshan and others couldn't find any reason to refute. At the same time, Frankie, Bingshan and others knelt down to thank Victor. Victor said, "You don't need to do this. Although first am Marine Admiral, I have no influence on whether this case can be changed. Even if the result cannot be changed, we are still grateful to you. You are a good man," Frankie and Bingshan said successively. In Tom's case, little could be changed. They all know about it. However, Victor has no relationship with them, but he is willing to speak up for Tom, which is very rare. "Yeah." Victor nodded, then turned to leave. Victor and others continued to play in the capital of 7 waters. Stella asked in a low voice, "My lord, can't you change the verdict even if you come forward?" Victor's face was expressionless. Connor said first, "Eni's lobby, Marine, and Impel Down are the 3 systems of world government. Although Marine can interfere with Eni's lobby and Impel Down in certain decisions, in the final analysis, world government makes decisions." Right echoed. "To put it simply, our Marine is involuntary in many things. It's not that we don't want to do it, but we can't go against the will of the world government." After Stella heard the words, she secretly looked at Victor. If Master Victor has higher power, it may be able to influence the decision-making of the world government. Right muttered softly. Victor remained silent. Actually, he doesn't need to explain now. Because no matter what he does, he will be rationalized by his followers. This is the character he has always shaped. No matter what he does, Right, Connor and other followers will believe that he is justice. What's more, Victor really did a good thing this time. As for whether you can save Tom, Victor didn't care. What he cares about is the blueprint of Pluton in Tom's hand. If you plant flowers deliberately, the flowers will not bloom, but if you plant willows unintentionally, they will make shade. Victor didn't expect that his purposeful and righteous speech won him a good reputation in the capital of 7 waters. The next day, when Victor and others were going to the Queen of Spring City by warship, the residents they met along the way took the initiative to say hello to Victor. There was reverence in their eyes. Overnight, the story of a Marine admiral who stood up for an ordinary shipbuilder spread. This won the respect of ordinary people. Stella followed Victor, and she felt an indescribable sense of pride. At the same time, as the instigator of this incident. Spandam hurried to the capital of Seven Waters. However, when Spandam arrived at the capital of Seven Waters, Victor had already gone to the Queen of Spring. Quick! Go to the Spring Queen City, Spandam said hastily. Spandam killed Tom in order to get ancient weapon Pluton. As a result, Spandam learns that Victor went so far as to advise Eni's lobby to commute his sentence. Therefore, Spandam immediately came to Victor to explain clearly to Victor. Victor is the Marine Admiral, and all it takes to kill a Spandam is a little thumb. A gentleman is magnanimous, and a villain is long-suffering. Spandam wants to get more chips for his promotion by harming Tom. Therefore, Spandam is afraid of being retaliated by Victor. Spring Queen City is not far from the capital of Seven Waters, and it is a small town suitable for tourism and vacation. In the original plot, after the CP9 gang was defeated by Luffy, they hid here to recuperate and defeated the Candy Pirates. When Spandam found Victor, Victor and others were watching street acrobatics. Victor Admiral. Spandam told his men to wait at a distance as he moved to Victor's side with two of his cronies. However, before Spandam approached, he was stopped by Wright and others. Spandam hurriedly took out the certificate of CP5, and explained at the same time, I am the chief of CP5, and I want to meet Victor Admiral and report some important situations to Victor Admiral. Let him come over. At this moment, Victor said to Wright. Yes. Wright let Spandam pass. Spandam came to Victor's side. Spandam said in a low voice, Victor Admiral, I would like to report something to you alone. Yeah. Victor nodded, so they walked all the way to the tavern not far away. After Spandam asked his agents to clear the tavern, only Victor and Spandam were left in the tavern. Spandam said to Victor, Victor Admiral, Tom has a secret that could endanger the world. What secret? Victor asked. Spandam explained. Master Victor knows about ancient weapon, right? Yeah. Victor nodded. Spandam replied. 800 years ago, the city of Seven Waters created the most vicious ship. Its name is Pluton. Although there is no definite evidence, I suspect that its design is in Tom's hands. Victor said. That's why he was sentenced to death. Spandam explained. I am also for the safety of the world. If Pluton falls into the hands of the evil party, it will bring disaster to the world. It's obviously for his own promotion and fortune, but he can still say it in a high-sounding manner. Victor looked at Spandam and said, Do you know Garner? We're still good friends, Spandam replied. The former CP4 chief Ghana, of course Spandam knew him. There is only one type of person who can serve as the chief of the Secret Service Department of the world government, and that is the related households. Victor asked. Did you know that he is now a member of the Blue Ocean Club? Hearing this, Spandam was taken aback for a moment, and then smiled. He understands it in seconds. So, Spandam said excitedly, Master Victor, can I also join the Blue Ocean Club? Joining the Blue Ocean Club naturally has a lot of benefits. After Garner joined the Blue Ocean Club, the tasks can be easily completed. After completing the tasks delivered by the world government, you will naturally be appreciated. Therefore, Ghana's promotion went well. After hearing Spandam's words, Victor smiled and said, I think you can join. Spandam smiled and said, I will definitely try my best to repay your appreciation. Spandam will naturally say the words of loyalty. Your father is the commander of CP9. At this time, Victor said. Yes. Spandam replied immediately. If he finds a child with potential, he can send it to Marine for training, Victor said. World government will take in a large number of orphans, and select top-end talent children from among them, allowing them to receive training from an early age. The selection of members of CP9 is very strict, and the children who can be selected by CP9 are the elite among the elite. Victor didn't want to raise kids. However, CP9 can be used to raise children. Spandam naturally agreed, I will pass it on to him. From now on, if you encounter any trouble, you can contact the branches of the Marine Blue Ocean Club in various places. If they can't solve it, you can also contact me. Yes. You go first. Victor said. Yes. Spandam turned to leave. After Spandam left, Victor smoked a cigarette and called Wright and others in. Senior, is it a secret? Yeah. Victor nodded, I guess. The world government doesn't want to expose the matter of ancient weapon either. What do we need to do to prepare? Wright asked. I have already communicated with them. We try not to get involved in this matter, Victor said. Yes. Wright nodded again. Eni's lobby. Spandam came to the office of his father Spandam. Dad. I have something to tell you, Spandam said. What is it? I met Victor Admiral, and he got me into Blue Ocean Club, Spandam said. Blue Ocean Club. Spandam nodded. Spandam is engaged in channels, so he naturally knows that Blue Ocean will meet. It's a huge organization, they have tens of thousands of members. Especially the rest of Sabodi Archipelago, the Blue Ocean Club is very famous all over the world. You joined the Blue Sea Club? Spandam asked. Yes. Spandam replied. Spandam nodded. In this case, you should behave well. You can go to Victor Admiral in the future. If you need help, you can go to him. Well, I see. Spandam looked at Spandam and said, remember, if you want to climb up, you must rely on the strength of the strong. I see. Spandam nodded. That's fine, if you have nothing else to do, you can go first. Yeah. Spandam nodded, then I'll go first. After speaking, Spandam turned and left. Spandam stood up, picked up the teacup at hand, and took a sip of tea. After a while, however, Spandam returned and told Spandam, Master Victor wants some gifted children. Yeah. Spandam nodded. A Victor continues on leave while Victor is on leave. The number of pirates around the world is increasing. Roger used his own life to start the era of greedy big pirates. And naval headquarters has been exhausted in order to deal with the pirates who are constantly rushing to the sea. As far as Marine is concerned, the current military strength cannot prevent the advent of the era of great pirates. Have you heard that Kuzan Rear Admiral is going to be promoted to Vice Admiral? In naval headquarters, a Marine ensign speaks to another Marine ensign beside him. The Marine ensign's eyes widened. I heard that the army will be expanded in response to the age of the great pirates. Don't think about it. If you think about it, it won't be our turn. You don't have a backstage. Does Kuzan have a backstage? Sakazuki is still a Rear Admiral, and Kuzan is directly promoted to Vice Admiral. In terms of military exploits, Sakazuki Rear Admiral is not bad. That's right, without a background, you can't climb up in the headquarters at all. Hearing this, the Marine ensign fell silent. Okay. Marine ensign glanced at the Marine ensign and said, stop thinking about it and work hard. Yeah. The Marine ensign echoed. Although he was not convinced, he couldn't refute it. If our application is approved, then we will have background and backing, another Marine ensign said. Yes. The Marine ensign also nodded. I want to practice hard too, the Marine ensign said firmly. Although Sakazuki said nothing, Ghost Spider and Dogman were not convinced. Why? Kuzan is going to be promoted to Vice Admiral. They admit that Kuzan is excellent and has captured many pirate groups, but what about the others? Sakazuki also gained a lot of military exploits, but the result? HMPH, isn't it just relying on the backing? What's the big deal? Dogman said viciously. Sakazuki didn't want to say anything to him either. After all, everyone has a mentality of envy, jealousy and hatred. Why hasn't Victor given us a promotion yet? At this time, Dogman asked again. It should be inspecting you. If you are qualified, you will naturally be promoted, Sakazuki said blankly. I hope so. The Ghost Spider really wanted to be promoted, but he just complained. Compared to Sengoku, Victor is interesting enough, at least taking care of them. Naval Headquarters. Not only Aokiji, Huashaoshan and others have also been promoted. Do not suffer from widowhood, but from inequality. Aokiji and other gentle marines have all been promoted. On the other hand, Ghost Spider and the others seem to have entered a bottleneck period. The worst thing to do now is Kizaru and a small number of neutrals. They are active in their work, but they don't know how to flatter Marshal and Admiral. Therefore, so far, the rise has been extremely slow. Kizaru didn't mind. He has already seen through the power struggle within Marine. However, he still wants to become stronger and get better in Marine. Because he knew that in this situation, the higher his status, the more secure he was, so he worked harder, hoping to be promoted earlier. After he takes the position of Admiral, then he can rest. It's just that not everyone is a Kizaru, has the mentality and patience of a Kizaru. Therefore, more and more people apply to join the Blue Ocean Club, or join Sengoku's camp. Marine's internal division is getting worse. Making money is no easy task. Originally, Tezuolo wanted to set up a small stall to sell some fruits, but it was fine if he didn't earn any money, and the fruit stand was overturned. Tezuolo was robbed of his money and he was beaten. Later, Tezuolo realized that the place where he set up his stall was the territory of the Wild Wolf Gang, and he had to pay protection fees to the Wild Wolf Gang every month to be eligible to do business. After paying the money, Tezuolo thought he could do business, but he didn't expect to make much money after the whole day. On the contrary, the gambling stall next door is simply a gold swallowing machine, making money too fast. Tezuolo thought to himself, it is too difficult to make money in a serious business, or I will also set up a gambling stall. Tezuolo used to like to gamble too, and knew that people were addicted to gambling, and gambling did pay off quickly. So Tezuolo decided to abandon legitimate business and start a gambling stall as well. Tezuolo, however, was soon taught a lesson in reality. Not only did the gambling stall fail to make any money, but was beaten up by thugs invited by colleagues. Tezuolo understands that not everyone is qualified to make quick money, he needs power. Without strength, he can't keep anything. So Tezuolo joined the Wild Wolf Gang and became one of them. On the sea, a warship is sailing at a constant speed. The commander of this warship is called Sarah. Sierra joined the Blue Ocean Club last year and has just been promoted to Rear Admiral this year. Now Sierra started from the G6 branch and was responsible for transporting 3 devil fruits back to naval headquarters. At this time, Marine on the mast found a ship in distress ahead. People on board are shouting to the warship, they are asking for help. Sarah was kind-hearted, and he found that there were several children on board the wrecked ship. If they didn't help them, they would definitely die in the sea. He ordered the warship to approach and rescue these people. Rear Admiral, it's not right to do this. At this time, Sarah's adjutant reminded, what should I do if the enemy traps me? No, they have no reason to do so. Sierra was very firm in her own judgment. What if? The adjutant was still very worried. If it's a trap, then we'll get rid of the trap and the enemy. If not, then we'll save them. Sarah said very seriously. Okay. The adjutant had no choice but to agree. So Sarah insisted on issuing a rescue order. Here we come, the warship is coming. We were rescued. After hearing the rescue order issued by the warship, the victims were very excited and shouted to the warship. Come here one by one. Marine soldiers set up ladders and sent the people on board the ship in distress one by one to the warship. On Class A of the warship, tents and beds have already been set up. The Marine soldiers arranged nutrients, water bottles, cans, bread, meat products, and some food and drinks for their convenience. In the middle of the night, Sarah and the others were asleep. On the deck, the Marines are patrolling, and the medical team on board is still changing the dressings and checking the physical condition of the rescued personnel. However, they suddenly felt more and more sleepy. Before he knew it, he fell to the ground. Not only the medical class, but also the Marines on the deck fell asleep. When Sarah woke up, he found that the crew members were in a coma, and the sleep was everywhere. He was keenly aware that they were in trouble. So, Sarah went to check the escorted items immediately. Sure enough, the 3 devil fruits were gone. He knew they were under attack. So, he quickly contacted the Blue Ocean Club headquarters in naval headquarters. I was attacked, and the 3 devil fruits are gone, Sierra reported anxiously. What? What's going on? Eric asked immediately after receiving the news. I don't know, they used some method to put us to sleep, Sarah replied. I will immediately ask Lord Victor for instructions. Lord Victor will dispatch a sea fleet to rescue, you just wait. Eric comforted Sarah. Victor didn't care about Tezuolo. Anyway, he had already confessed, so naturally someone would watch Tezuolo for him. Currently, Tezuolo is in the Wild Wolf Gang, which mainly relies on arms smuggling and casino profits. Tezuolo is smart and should be able to learn a lot. And the leader of the Wolf Gang goes out of his way to please Victor. Although Victor didn't target the Wild Wolf Gang, he was afraid of well ropes after being bitten by a snake for 10 years. Victor has captured so many people in the Sabodi archipelago, but he scares them. Tuck tuck. Then there was a knock on the door. Victor yelled casually, come in. Wright walked in and walked to Victor's side. Senior, Salah Rear Admiral is here. Let him in, Victor said. After a while, a nearly 40-year-old Rear Admiral walked into the study and met Victor. Sierra Rear Admiral saluted first, then stood straight. Don't be so restrained, just sit down. As Victor spoke, he threw a cigarette to Sarah, who caught it. Thank you, Lord Victor, Sela replied. Victor asked, are you here to report your situation to me? Yes, Master Victor, the failure of this mission is due to my dereliction of duty, Sierra Rear Admiral said. Afterwards, he told Victor the cause of the incident in detail. Sierra also joined the Blue Ocean Club. In the Blue Ocean Club, apart from Victor, Sierra is already the group of people with the highest military rank. And not long ago, Sarah failed to escort Devil Fruit, resulting in Devil Fruit being robbed. Of course, the enemy did not use force, but a despicable means. I don't mean to blame you, but you have to remember that you are mine, and as long as I am here, I will be responsible to the end. As Victor said, he picked up the wine again and poured it for Sarah. However, you still have to rest for a while, and you will resume your job when I notify you. Yes. Sarah stood up. Okay, relax and spend more time with your family during this time. When Victor was speaking, he took out his checkbook and wrote a check for 5 million Baileys to Sarah. Take your family to play. Thank you, Victor Admiral. Sierra took the check and turned to leave the study. After Sarah left, Wright whispered, Senior, Sarah lost 1 zone ancient seed and 2 paramecia. Do you know who took it? Victor asked. Wright shook his head and replied, no clue for now. Then investigate first. As for Sarah's matter, let him be suspended pending investigation, Victor said. Yes. Wright nodded. If you have no background, if you lose 3 devil fruits in one breath, you will definitely go to jail. However, who made Sierra a member of the Blue Ocean Club? Victor's personality is to protect his shortcomings, so it is impossible for Sierra to be punished. There is a marine-exclusive pub in the town of Marineford. During break time, the tavern is always full. Especially Marine, who just came back from a mission and rested, wished she could spend the whole day in the bar to rest her body and mind. As soon as Sarah entered the tavern, he heard someone greet him. Sarah Rear Admiral, we're over here. A Rear Admiral greets Sela. Sierra turned her head and saw that the left corner of the tavern was already full of members of the Blue Ocean Club. Sarah walked over. How's it going? How will Lord Victor handle this matter? One of them asked Sierra. Sarah lost 3 devil fruits, including an ancient zone. If the ministry pursues responsibility, Sarah will definitely be arrested and go to jail. Sierra sat down, and under the gaze of everyone, he replied, Master Victor, let me relax and spend this time with my family. During this period, I will be suspended for investigation. You said vacation? Have a holiday. The surrounding generals and officers all stared wide-eyed. The other Marines in the tavern also stretched their ears. It can be seen from their expressions that they are all shocked. According to the normal procedures of the ministry, now Sarah needs to cooperate with the investigation of the judicial department, and is temporarily locked in a small dark room, losing her right to freedom. However, Sarah was not only not locked up, but was also granted a period of leave. It's incredible. Master Victor must have intervened. That is inevitable, otherwise the military police would have come to arrest people. As expected of Mr. Victor. When everyone praised Victor, Sierra remembered what Victor had said to him. You are mine. As long as I am here, I will be responsible to you to the end. Thanks to Lord Victor. Sierra drank the rum and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. At the same time, Naval Headquarters, inside the Marshal's office. Sora, Sengoku, and Victor sat in the room and smoked. On the empty desktop, there is still a portfolio just sorted out by the Ministry of Justice. Portfolio is sent by Sengoku. The Minister of Justice is Far Vice Admiral, who is Sengoku's subordinate and was promoted by Sengoku. If it is normal, as long as Marine does not complete the task and there is an abnormal situation during the execution of the task, then the Ministry of Justice will immediately send the military police to buy tea and close the small black room for investigation. This time, however, Far did not do so. Because Victor contacted him as soon as possible, he asked the Ministry of Justice not to continue the investigation. As for the lost devil fruit, Victor will be responsible for retrieving it. Far is a serious person. He knows Admiral's power and knows that he can't mess with Victor, so he hands the problem to Sengoku. Sengoku is his old boss now. The same as Admiral, let Admiral negotiate. After a moment of silence, Sengoku took the lead in questioning Victor. Victor, do you know how bad the nature of this incident is? Victor knew what Sengoku was referring to, but he pretended to be confused. Do you mean losing 3 devil fruits? Sengoku said seriously, with a straight face. I know Sarah is a member of the Blue Ocean Club. However, the original intention of the Blue Ocean Club was not to cover up crimes. Victor took a deep breath, turned his head to look at the sky. Marshal, if you meet civilians who are shipwrecked, will you save them or not? Kuang frowned. Of course it will be saved. Victor looked at Sengoku and said, Sengoku uncle, what about you? Sengoku scowled. If it is not saved, it will not only damage his reputation, but also affect the world government. However, Sengoku did not intend to answer this question. He said coldly, now it is not a question of whether to save people, but you, as Admiral, should not interfere with the normal law enforcement procedures of the Ministry of Justice. Sengoku uncle, if you say you can't save them, then I'll arrest Sarah now and send them to the Ministry of Justice. In the future, Marine will die if civilians are killed. Conversely, if you can't see them die, Nasura did not behave abnormally during this mission and does not need to be investigated by the Ministry of Justice. Victor responded with a smile on his face, without waiting for Sengoku to speak. Victor took out a phone bug from his sleeve. This phone bug is a video bug that can record and project images. Victor said, Sengoku uncle, look at it and say. Sengoku suddenly swallowed the words that came to his lips. He didn't expect Victor to play this trick. Victor aimed the phone bug at the sky again. Sora rubbed his forehead with a headache on his face. Victor smiled and said, everything is for justice. I believe that Sengoku uncle, like Sarah, will not refuse to save the victims. Sengoku was silent, and Sora was also silent. Victor said, in addition, I guarantee with Admiral's position that the 3 devil fruits will be retrieved. As soon as these words came out, Sora found the stairs. Kuang said solemnly, since you can guarantee it, then it's up to you to get them back. However, this is not an example. After saying that, Sora also looked at Sengoku. Sengoku said, only this time. Victor chuckled, then got up and left the office. When Victor opened the sliding door of the office, the 2 Marines at the door stood up in a panic. The 2 of them had just eavesdropped on the door. Victor smiled and walked out of the office. Looking at Victor's back, the 2 Marines at the door couldn't help giving their thumbs up. They have been with the Marshal for so many years, and this is the first time they have seen a chief who shields and protects his subordinates so much. Marine's internal information circulates extremely quickly. Victor sided with Sarah and vouched for her with Admiral's position. This is extremely shocking inside Marine, because never seen Marine Admiral do this before. Now that Victor did this, the prestige of him in the Blue Ocean Club had increased to an unprecedented height. Who doesn't want to find a backer? Who doesn't want to hug their thighs? Marine, who was not used to Blue Ocean Club or Victor, started to change his opinion of Victor. At least Victor is someone you can trust. Follow Victor, you won't be betrayed, let alone take the blame for your superiors. It's word of mouth. Priceless things that money can't buy. Victor was naturally happy to hear Wright's feedback. If he wants to realize his ambition, he must have a group of loyal followers. One prospers all, one loses all, a community of interests. This naturally fit Victor's needs. The news spread to all branches. Victor, I didn't expect him to be so reliable. Ghost Spider muttered. Dogman was lying on the sofa with his feet up on the coffee table, and he secretly glanced at Akainu. Akainu was reading the newspaper, and he was not at all involved in the topic of discussing Victor. Dogman wonders sometimes. Would Akainu vouch for them if they were like Sarah one day? With Akainu's character, can you? 3 devil fruits were robbed. Naturally, this matter has to be dealt with. So, Victor called Rodney. Rodney has performed well and has now been promoted to Commodore. It is clear within the Blue Ocean Club that Victor will train Rodney. Rodney comes to Victor's office. Report. After Rodney came in, he stood up straight and saluted the military. At this moment, Victor turned his back to Rodney. He was reading the newspaper. After a while, he said leisurely, what do you think about the robbery of devil fruit? Rodney replied seriously. This is not an accident. Yeah. Victor nodded lightly. Continue. Rodney continued. Since the death of Rox and the disintegration of the Rox pirate group, there have been very few villains in the sea who dare to attack Marine proactively. For example, in the post-Rox era, the Golden Lion who succeeded the Rock's Overlord, and World Destroyer burned Ewald, etc. However, these people have one thing in common. After they attack Marine, they all leave traces. Victor's face was expressionless. Rodney took a peek and saw that Victor didn't let him stop, so he continued. This time the villain obviously got the route of Sierra Rear Admiral, and arranged it in advance. Victor turned around, looked at Rodney and said, "Give me a conclusion." Rodney didn't hesitate, and he didn't hesitate to do things. Since Victor would come to him and let him express his opinion, he obviously trusted him. Someone inside Marine leaked the news. "I think so too." Victor lit a cigarette, and then slowly said, "I'll leave this matter to you. You should be arrested, and you should be killed. Get the devil fruit back." "Yes." Rodney replied immediately. Victor stood up and walked in front of Rodney. He straightened Rodney's epaulets and said seriously, "Rodney Commodore, my face and position are all in your hands." Hearing what Victor said, Rodney felt a warm current in his heart. Trusted and reused by Master Victor, Victor patted Rodney on the shoulder and said, "Go to work." "Yes." Rodney turned and left the office. Rodney is a man who can get things done. He doesn't know how to flatter, let alone engage in workplace relationships. However, ever since he joined the Blue Ocean Club, ever since he was appreciated by Victor, he has a feeling of entering the ocean and allowing me to swim. A scholar dies for his confidant. Although Rodney couldn't express it, Victor entrusted him with such an important job. Of course, you can't disappoint Mr. Victor, so Rodney immediately began investigating. At the same time that Rodney began investigating, Sengoku was also investigating the matter. There is an internal reaction of the enemy within the Marine, which cannot be tolerated. And that's just 3 devil fruits missing. If it is a more important information leak, the consequences will be disastrous. Of course, if the case can be closed early, then Victor will be in a bad situation. After all, Victor used his position as a guarantee and promised to retrieve the 3 devil fruits himself. Even if Victor keeps Admiral's position in the end. However, after this incident, it will still affect 5 elders' evaluation of him. The selection of the marshal not only considers the strength of the individual, but also needs to be capable. For public and private purposes, Sengoku needs to step in. Wright walked up to Victor. "Master Victor, as you expected, Sengoku Admiral also sent people to investigate this incident, and the Ministry of Justice has already taken away the relevant personnel from the G6 branch. As expected of the resourceful general, the speed is really fast." Victor smiled. Wright showed concern. "Master Victor, if Sengoku Admiral solves the case early, it will have a big impact on you." Victor smoked a cigarette and asked with a smile, "How much are these 3 devil fruits worth?" Wright was stunned for a moment, then estimated the price in his mind, and said, 2 of them are ordinary paramecia worth 200 million berries, and 1 zone ancient species is worth 500 million berries. "It adds up to less than 1 billion pales," Victor said. "Yeah." Wright nodded. Victor asked, "If you were those people in the sea, would you expose your inner circle for 1 billion baileys?" Wright thought about it and shook his head. Victor said, "Trust Rodney, he will not let me down." Wright could see that Victor wasn't panicking at all. Rather than trusting Rodney, it would be better to say that Victor has already made up his mind. After Rodney arrived at the G6 branch, he was told that the officers involved in this matter had been taken away by the Ministry of Justice. "Sir? What should we do?" Rodney's adjutant asked. Rodney remained expressionless. "Find all the officer information of the entire branch." "Huh?" Rodney's adjutant was taken aback when he heard this. Executing an order. After Rodney finished speaking, he strode towards the headquarters of the G6 branch. The commander of the G6 branch is Jamal Vice Admiral. Jamal Vice Admiral is nearly 70 years old and has a lot of prestige in naval headquarters. Now, Jamal Vice Admiral is also on the verge of retirement. Report. Rodney came to Jamal Vice Admiral and immediately saluted Jamal Vice Admiral. Jamal Vice Admiral smiles like a kind grandpa next door. "Is there any direction for investigation?" Jamal asked. The loss of devil fruit this time will not affect Jamal. What's more, Jamal is about to retire. However, Jamal spent 45 years at Marine. He knew that this incident had already broken through, and it would even affect the selection of the marshal. After all, Victor is a dark horse whose rise threatens Sengoku. If this matter is resolved by Sengoku, then in the eyes of 5 elders, Sengoku's ability to handle affairs is still better than Victor. Rodney replied, yes. Well, it's good to have a direction. I also hope that you young people can bring changes to Marine. Jamal said earnestly. As an old Marine, Jamal also wanted justice when he was young. It's just years in reality that Jamal realized. Enforcing justice is not an easy task. Victor's style of doing things is extreme, even a little extreme. However, it is not necessarily a bad thing. Marine really needs to usher in a change. And Sengoku is too steady. The Marine commanded by Sengoku will not have major problems, but it still cannot change the status quo. Master Victor will definitely be able to do it, Rodney said seriously. Hope so. In Rodney's eyes, Jamal saw determination and fanaticism. Victor should be stronger than Sengoku in terms of personal charm. Jamal thought to himself. After Rodney greeted, he turned and left. He also needs to look at the office's files. He wanted to find out those in the G6 branch who were depressed. Only these Marine scum would betray justice. Rodney read all the information on the officers of the G6 branch. After screening, Lieutenant Colonel Magnum was the most suspected. Lieutenant Colonel Magnum is 35 years old and has been with Marine for 15 years. During this period, he participated in several large-scale operations and gained a lot of military exploits. According to his military exploits, Lieutenant Colonel Magnum has been promoted to Rear Admiral. It's just that Magnum has repeatedly contradicted his superiors, and his personal conduct is bad, and he has been anonymously reported many times. Therefore, the promotion was delayed. Marine, who was at the same time as Lieutenant Colonel Magnum, is now a Commodore or even a Rear Admiral. Only Magnum was still a Lieutenant Colonel. More importantly, Magnum once applied to join the Blue Ocean Club, but was rejected by the Blue Ocean Club branch of the G6 branch because of his bad conduct. Once a person has no channel for promotion, it is easy to go to extremes. Rodney has seen many of these Marine scum before. Of course, this is just suspicion. Rodney does not have any evidence at this time. And Magnum has not had any abnormalities recently. Blue blue. Blue blue. After calling the phone bug 3 times. Victor picked up the microphone. At this moment, the phone bug imitated Rodney's expression. Victor asked, "Is there any progress?" Rodney replied, "Master Victor, a suspect has been identified, but there is no evidence pointing to him." Hearing this, Victor said blankly, "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to capture him," Rodney said. Victor hummed, "Then grab it." "Yes." Rodney ended the call. Wright was beside Victor, and he couldn't help frowning after hearing Rodney's report. "Senior, is this really okay? Catch thieves and seize stolen goods. Arresting a Marine officer without any evidence makes no sense." Victor said, "I believe in Rodney's ability to handle affairs, just like I believe in you. Since I entrust the work to you, you will not let me down." "I understand." Wright nodded and said no more. At the same time, after Rodney got permission, he immediately sent someone to rush into Magnum's barracks. Magnum was still in the shower. When Rodney brought people in, Magnum was stunned. "What's going on? What are you doing?" Magnum questioned the surrounding sailors. The sailors had their knives on Magnum's neck. At this time, Rodney walked into the bathroom, and he said coldly, "You are under arrest." Magnum was bewildered and innocent. His mental quality is very high. Although he was flustered when he was happy, he quickly regained his composure. Because if you want to catch him, you need evidence. Since the Ministry of Justice did not find him, how could Rodney and others have evidence? This is Lord Victor's order. When Rodney spoke, Marine had already tied up Magnum. What happened? How was Lieutenant Colonel Magnum arrested? It's from Victor Admiral. Is Lieutenant Colonel Magnum related to the robbery of Devil Fruit? Impossible. It is impossible for Lieutenant Colonel Magnum to know about the escort mission. At this time, the Marine officers around the barracks whispered to each other. In their eyes, although Magnum has misbehavior, there is no evidence to prove that Magnum is an insider. Rodney did not give an explanation and led the people away directly. Rodney brought Magnum into the interrogation room. In the interrogation room, Magnum cooperated. He sat on the interrogation chair, his hands and feet were locked, and he could not escape. At this time, Rodney sat in front of Magnum. "Have you ever encountered a difficult case?" Magnum frowned. "What do you mean?" Rodney continued. I have encountered many times, including this one. Every time we encounter this kind of case, the superiors ask us to give the result. We usually use the old method. You should have used it too. Rodney came up to Magnum and offered Magnum a cigarette. Magnum had a cigarette in his mouth. After Rodney lit a cigarette for Magnum, he also lit one for himself. Actually, you also know that in Marine, this kind of thing is too common. Rodney is like the Riddler. Although Rodney didn't say it clearly, Magnum understood. This is to catch someone to take the blame. I have investigated you. In the G6 branch, you have no background. Moreover, your relationship with your superiors is not good, and your relationship with your colleagues is not good. You were even reported anonymously for mistreating soldiers. There are too many guys like you, Marine. Rodney smoked a cigarette and said calmly, now we need a person who confesses his crime. Of course, it is also beneficial. As long as you spend a few years in prison, you can become a rich man after you get out of prison. After hearing Rodney's words, Magnum secretly sneered in his heart. Sure enough, Rodney didn't have any evidence, and just wanted to find someone with no background to take the blame. Indeed, Magnum has experienced this kind of thing many times. He even helped his superiors carry the blame several times. Magnum said coldly, what if I refuse? Rodney chuckled, don't do something stupid, you know it's not good for you. I know your methods. Magnum snorted coldly. Think about it, you still have a chance. As Rodney spoke, he took out a small brown bottle. The vial contains an unknown liquid. Rodney uncapped the vial and poured the contents into a teacup. Magnum watched the scene. He thought Rodney was going to kill someone. Moreover, even if Magnum died, it would create the illusion of committing suicide in fear of guilt. This is not the first time this kind of thing has happened inside Marine. Magnum took a deep breath. Okay, I am willing to plead guilty. Rodney smiled when he heard that. That's right. Magnum said, but I have one condition. Rodney nodded. Say it, as long as it's not too much. Magnum took a deep breath. I don't want to go to jail. Rodney shook his head and said, it's beyond your control. Magnum smiled contemptuously. I will escape during the escort, so that my crime will be confirmed. Rodney thought about it, but didn't agree. Magnum went on to say, the convincing power of absconding in fear of crime is stronger than suicide in fear of crime. Rodney nodded slightly. Magnum added, I've saved some money over the years, and I can use it to buy freedom. Magnum didn't know much about Blue Ocean. Although the purpose of the Blue Ocean Society is to thoroughly clean up the sea and implement justice, Magnum scoffed. In his opinion, there is no cat that does not steal. Magnum has been in the military for 15 years, and Marine's corruption runs from top to bottom. Members of the Blue Ocean Club are no exception. Isn't their purpose of joining the Blue Ocean Club to get promoted and make a fortune? Rodney held his chin and pretended to be moved. Magnum secretly sneered. He had already seen through the Marine executives. Every time something goes wrong, some people will be arrested to take the blame. This time he was unlucky. However, this is also good. Magnum originally wanted to leave Marine and go to sea to be a pirate. Now that the era of great pirates has begun, it is a good opportunity for him to flex his muscles. What's more, he has already got 3 devil fruits. With his strength, plus 3 devil fruits, it will not take a few years to make a name for yourself at sea. At that time, Rodney will definitely regret letting himself go. Those idiots Marine. Victor and Sengoku are idiots. Everything is just as Magnum thought. When Magnum fulfilled his promise and gave Rodney a sum of money, Rodney also cooperated very well. On the way to escort Magnum back to the headquarters, Marine, who was in charge of guarding, happened to leave the cell key on the ground. Magnum got the key, uncuffed the handcuffs and shackles, and jumped ship to escape. It's just that Magnum never dreamed that the prison uniform he was wearing was specially made. Lifeguard fragments were sewn into the lining of the clothes. Rodney not only wants Magnum to plead guilty, but also to get devil fruit back. I'm on this island, you come and pick me up. On Kaga Island, Magnum contacted his partner with a phone bug hidden on the island. These partners are all pirates. They and Magnum were childhood friends. It's just that Magnum became Marine and they became pirates. This group of pirates was operating near the G6 branch. With the help of Magnum, they belonged to the Black Under the Lights, and they didn't worry about being caught by Marine at all. At daybreak, a pirate ship approaches Kaga Island. Seeing the pirate ship approaching, Magnum was full of excitement. He was finally going to be reborn. Leave Marine, become a pirate, and live the life he wants. Soon, the pirate ship docked, and the pirates landed on Kaga Island. Brother Magnum, we brought you wine. There's still meat. Several pirates shook the wine and meat in their hands, looking excited. Ha ha ha. Magnum greeted them excitedly, embraced the leaders, then picked up the wine and meat, and ate happily. He was really starving. However, at this moment, only a bang was heard. A cannonball hit the pirate ship with precision. After the pirate was hit by the shell, he burst into flames. Call out! Call out! Call out! The shells fell one after another, and soon, the main mast of the pirate ship was hit. The shells shattered the mainmast. What happened? The pirates around Magnum were stunned. The flesh in Magnum's mouth fell out. Magnum looked into the distance, and saw several warships parked in the distance. Could it be? A thought flashed through Magnum's mind. These are all set by Rodney. Rodney gave him a chance to join the pirates. Asshole, he played tricks on you. Magnum gritted his teeth and began to curse Rodney in his heart. Brother Magnum, what should we do now? At this time, a pirate asked Magnum. Magnum gritted his teeth and roared angrily, fight with them. But, there are so many Marines. One pirate shrank back, his legs shaking. Brother Magnum, why don't we surrender? Surrender is the best way to go to jail. Facing a Marine several times larger than their own, and with strong ships and sharp guns, how could the pirates have the courage to fight? However, Magnum would not surrender. Magnum grabbed a pistol, pulled the trigger, and killed a pirate with one shot. Either work hard or die. Magnum's forehead was bulging with blue veins, and his expression was grim. He doesn't want to go to jail, especially in such a good time. Obviously the opportunity is in front of him, as long as he can grasp it. Lieutenant Colonel Magnum, surrender. At this time, Rodney's persuasion came from the sea. Magnum looked sullenly at the warships at sea. Rodney went on to say, as long as you are willing to surrender, you can still save a life. Magnum looked around, then snatched a rifle from a pirate sniper and aimed it at Rodney's ship. The crosshairs aimed at Rodney, despite their distance of 3 kilometers to meet. At this moment, Magnum took a deep breath and armament hockey coiled the bullet. Then, with his right index finger, he lightly squeezed the trigger. Boom! The bullet shot out and flew towards Rodney's forehead. What an excellent sniper! Rodney stretched out his hand, wrapped his right hand around armament hockey, and caught the high-speed spinning bullet. Seeing this, Magnum was shocked. Unfortunately, I went the wrong way. Rodney murmured. Destroy them all. Rodney gave the final order. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Blue blue. Blue blue. After the phone bug rang 3 times. Victor just picked up the microphone. Master Victor, Magnum has been executed, and all 3 devil fruits have been recovered. Rodney reported seriously. I really got it back. Wright was surprised. Wright did not doubt Rodney's strength. It's just that Rodney's ability to investigate cases is so strong. You must know that the Ministry of Justice has investigated all the personnel involved in the case of the G6 branch. However, none of the suspects were locked on Magnum. However, the truly powerful person is Lord Victor. Sir Victor already knew that Rodney would succeed. Well, thank you for your hard work. When you come back, take a week off and there will be more important work for you. Victor said with satisfaction. Thank you, Lord Victor. After Rodney answered, he ended the call. Victor stood up and left the office. Inside the marshal's office, Sora and Sengoku were chatting about Rodney's random arrest. Without any evidence, a branch lieutenant colonel was arrested. This incident had a huge impact on Marine. What's more, the lieutenant colonel jumped off the boat and escaped 2 days ago. Sengoku thinks that this matter can be put on the line, so make a fuss about it. Victor is Marine Admiral. However, Marine Admiral does not mean that you can act recklessly. Now, Victor's men run amok, forcing Lieutenant Colonel Marine to defect. Shouldn't Victor be responsible for this matter? Tuk tuk. After hearing the knock on the door, both Sora and Sengoku put down their teacups. Come in. Sora called towards the door. Just then, Victor walked in. I'm about to find you. Sora frowned and said to Victor. Victor saw Sengoku, and Sengoku covered the documents on the table. Although he didn't see the content, he could guess that it must be Sengoku making small reports. However, Victor didn't care. He replied, "The 3 devil fruits that were robbed have been found." "It's back." Shock was written all over Sora's face. "How can that be?" Sengoku's eyes widened in disbelief. Victor also sat down. He put his feet up on the coffee table, and then took out a cigarette from his pocket. With a slight shake of his right hand, a cigarette flew out, and he bit his mouth handsomely. Victor smoked a cigarette and said with a smile, "Sengoku uncle, I'm not targeting you, I just think your methods are outdated." Victor smoked a cigarette, looked at Sora and Sengoku. "I know Sengoku uncle is dissatisfied with my way of doing things, but I respect you as an elder." Sora and Sengoku continued to listen. Victor looked at Sengoku and asked, "Sengoku uncle, I want to ask you. If you follow the usual means and methods, can you get back the devil fruit?" Sengoku didn't answer. Victor looked at Sora again. Kuang reached out and took a cigar from the table, lit it, and took a sip. "I know what you want to say. Indeed, you were very successful this time, but not every time will be so smooth." Victor said first. "Follow the rules and procedures, at least you won't make mistakes, right?" Kuang hummed. "Fortunately, the evidence for this incident is convincing, otherwise it will have a bad impact." I understand. Victor chuckled. Marine and world government need to save face. Sora and Sengoku stopped talking. Victor got devil fruit back. What else can they say? "Okay, since this matter has been resolved, let's do it. The report on this matter will be given to you in 2 days. Victor was not aggressive either. After he finished speaking, he got up and left. Seeing the back of Victor leaving, Sora had a smile on his face, while Sengoku had a sullen face. "I really never thought that you would have a competitor," Sora said to Sengoku with a smile. Sengoku was silent. Sora continued. "However, don't worry about it, it's still up to the 5 elders to decide." "Yeah." Sengoku nodded. At this time, Sora burned the report on the table and threw it into the ashtray. "This thing cannot be kept. Marine still has to face. Internal discord can only be verbal. The holy land of Mariajoy, the city of Pangu, among the powers. 5 elders are looking at the report." The report was handed in by CP0, and the content was about the robbery of devil fruit. How Victor and Sengoku handled this. Victor knows how to be flexible, and he is also very bold in employing people. Sengoku is as steady as ever, and everything follows the rules. The 2 generations have completely different styles of doing things. Isn't this funny? Sengoku is getting serious too. Competition is always good, and they both understand who can ultimately decide who the marshal will be. The 5 elders gossiped. They are under 1 person and above 10,000 people. And what they have to do every day is to maintain the world order and rule for IM. As for the martial battle within Marine, in fact, 5 elders already has someone in mind. Sengoku and Victor are very obedient. However, the 5 elders prefer people who play by the rules. Moreover, Sengoku is actively contributing to maintain the order of the world. Not long ago, Sengoku had proposed the Qiwuhai plan to Sora. By recruiting pirates, use pirates to deal with pirates. 5 elders thinks the plan is feasible. Sabaody Archipelago. Teso changed into a crisp suit, put on shiny leather shoes, and pomaded his hair. Although his age and his current attire seemed a bit strange, Teso always felt very majestic when he walked. He joined the Wild Wolf Gang and became one of them. It can be considered a big man. "Hey!" At this time, someone suddenly shouted at Teso. Teso looked back. "I saw a few members of the Wild Wolf Gang coming over." Of course, these members are now Tesolo's eldest brother. Teso straightened up immediately. There are also rules in the Wild Wolf Gang, and they also talk about seniority. Teso is still just a rookie in the Wild Wolf Gang. He must bow respectfully to any senior. Otherwise, what awaits him will be a brutal beating. "Where's the money?" When a leader spoke, he was already reaching into Tesolo's pocket. Teso hurriedly pressed his pocket. "This is the money to be handed over to Brother Tony. If he doesn't hand over the money, he will die. Brother Tony will definitely punish him. Tony is a fart." The boss raised his hand and slapped Teso across the face. This slap blinded Teso, his ears were buzzing, and his tinnitus continued. The leader's subordinates quickly came up, not only took all the money from Tesolo's pocket, but also kicked Tezzolo several times. Each kick hit Tezzolo hard in the stomach. The leather shoes are sharp, like the head of a gun. Tezzolo gritted his teeth, his face turned red, he curled up like a boiled shrimp. He didn't dare to resist, because the more he resisted, the worse he would be beaten. Even so, he was beaten until he became incontinent. Go and have another drink. The leader was extremely proud, and walked to the opposite bar with his men. When the passers-by saw Tezzolo, they covered their mouths and noses, with disgust and contempt on their faces. They bypassed Tezzolo, and they had no sympathy for Tezzolo. In their eyes, Tezzolo deserved it and deserved it. Big brother, are you okay? At this time, a little girl ran to Tezzolo. Tezzolo was lying on the ground on his back, looking at the girl's face. He was about to shake his head. However, before Tezzolo could speak, a woman walked over quickly, took the girl away, and said to her, "Wina, stay away from that kind of person in the future." Tezzolo stood up in embarrassment, and there was an unknown evil fire in his heart. However, he had to endure. He believes that there will always be a day of success. So, Tezzolo went to his boss Tony. Tony is only a grassroots leader in the Wild Wolf Gang. The way for the Wild Wolf Gang to make money is to rely on extortion, as well as collecting protection fees. Gang members collect money every day, and 80% of the money they receive must be handed over to their elder brother. Tony saw Tezzolo being beaten, but didn't ask why. "Have you received the money?" Tezzolo replied, "I met brother Jimmy on the road. They stopped me, beat me, and took away the money." Boom. As soon as Tezzolo finished speaking, he was kicked out by Tony. "You idiot, if he doesn't rob others, why does he rob you?" Tony yelled at Tezzolo. Tezzolo felt extremely wronged. He is also depressed. "I'm running out of time." Tony glanced at the clock on the wall, then took out a dagger from his waist and threw it to Tezzolo. "Go to the street to find some money and come back." The so-called change of money is stealing money. Tezzolo looked at the dagger in front of him, not daring to take it. Tony walked up to Tezzolo, raised his foot and stepped on Tezzolo's face hard. Tezzolo's face was stuck in the mud, extremely humiliating. "If you don't get back today's money before 8 o'clock, then you will die." Tony picked up the dagger and cut a gash just below Tezzolo's eyebrow. Blood flowed into Tezzolo's eyes. Fear and anger filled Tezzolo's heart. He doesn't understand why the whole world is against him. He obviously worked very hard. Tezzolo returned to the small, damp house, where he sat curled up in a corner. He is reflecting on himself, and at the same time, he is also looking for a correct path. There is no doubt that Tezzolo believes in his earning power. He is eloquent and knows how to read words and expressions. He can easily make money just by setting up a stall. However, just making money is not enough. Without strength, people will still be bullied. He needs strength, not only to protect himself, but also to change his destiny. Just how to become stronger. If you continue to stay in the Wild Wolf Gang, you will definitely have no future. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Connor came to Victor, and he said to Victor, "Senior, Bart from the Wild Wolf Gang has reported to you that according to your suggestion, he has recently repaired Tezzolo severely." "Yeah." Victor responded. "These things are under his arrangement. Now the underground forces on the Sabodi archipelago must learn to kneel and lick Victor. Because only in this way can they survive. The Wild Wolf Gang is naturally one of them." Bart, the leader of the Wolf Gang, heard that he was working for Victor, so he was naturally very diligent. In the past few days, the Wild Wolf Gang has been practicing Tezzolo whenever they find an opportunity. Connor continued. "Senior, but that kid is quite tolerant, and he is still in the Wild Wolf Gang." Connor originally had no expectations for Tezzolo. However, Connor sent someone to pay attention, and Tezzolo really could bear it. "He's looking for opportunities," Victor said while reading the newspaper. "The more you can endure, the more you can do great things." "Yeah." Connor agrees with Victor. At this time, the radio in the office rang. "All Commodore and above generals, please come to the war room. All Commodore and above generals, please come to the war room. All Commodore and above generals, please come to the war room." After hearing the announcement, Victor stood up and patted Connor. "I'll let you keep an eye on that kid. As long as he doesn't die, leave him alone." "Yes." Connor replied seriously. Victor took right to the war room with a cigarette in his mouth. War room. Sora, Sengoku, Garp and others are all in the meeting room. It's so lively today. Victor glanced out of the corner of his eye and found that Akainu was also in the conference room. Akainu has recently been promoted again. Actually rose to Rear Admiral. The speed is still very fast. Sure enough, he either had a background, or he was ruthless and obedient. Only these two types of people can be promoted quickly in the headquarters. Victor sat across from Sengoku. At this time, Crane opened the mirror bug. The image bug starts to project. It's a photo of Douglas Bullet. You all know how menacing this guy is, and since Roger died, he's even crazier. Kong said to the crowd. After hearing Sora's words, the generals in the conference room nodded collectively. Bullet is known as the heir of the devil, and his strength is even close to that of Roger. It was only after Roger got sick that he was hit and went astray, starting to attack pirates and marines indiscriminately, turning the whole sea upside down. In terms of madness, Brindewald can't compare with it. At this time, a vice admiral said, "Is there any news about him?" Crane nodded and said, "Yes, we have tracked Bullet's location." To prevent his escape, Sora looked at Victor, then at Sengoku. Victor was smoking a cigarette, and from Sora's body language, he had already understood Sora's meaning. This task can be handed over to Victor or Sengoku. That's fair enough. Victor smiled slightly, then leave it to me. Then, Victor looked at Sengoku again. I'm good at catching these tricky guys. I'm fine with that. Sengoku didn't object. Sora said to Victor, then leave it to Victor. Afterwards, Sora looked at Crane again, and Crane nodded, and continued. Bullet's biggest threat is that he acts alone, and his current actions have no purpose. In order to arrest him, we must go all out. At this time, Idol turned to look at Victor. Victor, what do you think? Victor stood up and said, although I haven't dealt with him, I think so too. In fact, according to the original plot, Marine made a buster call to Bullet, and even Garp and Sengoku were out. While the Bullet and Marine had an intense duel, fatigue gradually piled up. When Bullet's physical strength was gradually exhausted by buster call, the pirates he defeated before also launched a surprise attack, and finally he defeated level 6 who was imprisoned in Impel Down. This guy is a real monster. Victor looked at the crowd, to make sure Bullet can be arrested. Victor's gaze first rested on Garp. Garp uncle, you need your strength this time. Garp nodded, this time he was doing his part. Garp has caught too many pirates, and he knows that Bullet is the most dangerous pirate. Then, Victor looked at Sengoku again. Sengoku smiled, thinking Victor would call him. Victor said to Sengoku, Sengoku uncle, Mariajoy's security job is up to you. Sengoku hummed, not surprised. At this time, Victor looked at Crane Ant. I will follow your command. Crane replied. Victor looked at Akainu, Ghost Spider, and Dogman again. I need your strength too. Ghost Spider and Dogman are very excited. Capture the heir of the devil, this is a major task. Akainu nodded to Victor. Victor looked at Kizaru. Kizaru pointed to himself, he thought Victor would call him too. However, Victor didn't mention Kizaru's name at all. Afterwards, Victor called out the members of the Blue Ocean Club and a group of people close to Akainu. Aokiji, Hua Shaoshan, Doberman and others couldn't help frowning. They have a sense of being excluded. Victor is only called one of his own, and he has a good relationship with Victor. Okay. I hope everyone can go all out, and this time we must arrest Bullet. Victor said to the crowd. Yes. Akainu et al. Responded at the same time. After hearing everyone's answers, Victor looked at Sora. Sora nodded, the meeting is over, you leave immediately. Yes. Victor replied, then got up and left the meeting room. Wright and others immediately followed behind Victor. Akainu, Ghost Spider, Dogman and others also left. After they left, 2/3 of the people were still sitting in the war room. These people are the doves of the headquarters, and they are all excluded. Sengoku frowned. Victor made it so obvious. Openly divide factions and form cliques. New World, a deserted island. This island is similar to Little Garden, an island where ancient creatures exist. There are dinosaurs with a height of 100 meters and pterosaurs with a wingspan of tens of meters on the island. In addition, there are rare poisonous insects, which carry deadly viruses. Even the water contains ancient bacteria. Once a person is infected, the chance of survival is less than 1%. This is definitely not a habitable island. Experienced adventurers and pirates will not easily land on this island. Has this lunatic been on the island for 3 days? 76 hours and 35 minutes to be exact. It's really abnormal to stay here for so long. That's his business, our job is to keep an eye on him. On the bottom of the sea, inside a submersible, 4 Marines in military uniforms chatted. They are members of the Marine Seahawks. The Sea Eagle Force is one of the special warfare forces directly under the headquarters, responsible for monitoring and tracking the monsters in New World. Half a month ago, Bullet attacked a Marine base, killing all Marines in the base. And, it's not the first time. Bullet is like a bloodthirsty mad dog, killing everywhere. Warships, judicial ships, pirates, as long as they are living creatures on the sea, he will not let them go. The kind that sees who kills whom. Therefore, world government and naval headquarters attach great importance. The CP0 and naval headquarters intelligence agencies teamed up, searched day and night at any cost, and finally found Bullet. However, when the submersible was observing the situation on the island, a larger red submersible appeared behind the submersible. There are 2 submersibles, one is like a tadpole and the other is like a frog. At this time, the red submersible stretched out its mechanical arm, which had crab-like pincers, and it clamped the Marine submersible. On the Marine submersible, 4 members of the Seahawk team felt the submersible hit. When the submersible was pulled out of the sea, the 4 members of the submersible, like candy in a can, were thrown to pieces. Before they could figure out the situation, the mechanical arm began to exert force, and the bulkhead of the submersible was clamped and deformed. And the huge red submersible also surfaced. It is like a huge crab. The man who controls it is none other than Douglas Bullet. This huge submersible was synthesized by Bullet using the ability of combined fruit. He manipulated it as he manipulated his own body. Get out. Team leader Rivers barely grabbed a lever and controlled his figure. He reminded his companions loudly. However, when they were about to do so, they discovered that the deformed bulkhead was extremely hard. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break the bulkhead. Bullet covers the submersible's bulkhead with his own armament hockey, making it indestructible. How to do? What the hell is he going to do? The members of the Seahawks team were terrified. Their voices were naturally heard by Bullet. A cruel smile curled up on Bullet's mouth. Many children will put the grasshopper in a cage and throw it into the water. Those grasshoppers struggled in the water until they lost their movement. The current submersible is the same. After it deforms, it loses its airtightness. Bullet put it in the sea and let it go silently. Notify the headquarters. The seawater entered the bulkhead, and Rivers knew that he would not be able to escape today. Therefore, Rivers decided to report to the headquarters and truthfully inform the situation here. On the sea, a huge fleet of 20 warships is sailing at high speed. In the flagship meeting room of the fleet, the Seahawk 09 team responsible for tracking all lost contact. Before they lost contact, they were attacked by Bullet. Now their lifecard fragments have disappeared. Crane informed Victor of the death of the Seahawks team. Victor's face was expressionless. The young officers and generals present clenched their fists. They are all angry. Victor stood up. Akainu looked at Victor. Victor took a deep breath. All stand up and observe 30 seconds of silence for them. Brush pull. Akainu, Ghost Spider, Dogman and others all stood up. Garp and Crane are no exception. 30 seconds later. Victor said, "In my own name, I will donate 1 million Pele to their families. In the name of the Blue Ocean Club, I will donate 5 million Pele to them." Both Garp and Crane nodded in agreement with Victor's approach. He's provoking us. Victor sat down, smoking a cigarette, and said coldly. None of the generals and officers present objected. Those monsters in New World, they are being watched by us, and they are happy to be watched, because they know that Marine always has a way to watch them, and they are conceited enough to do whatever they want under our watch. Now Bullet is tired and troublesome. He's telling us that it's not that we found him, but that he's waiting for us. He's right there on that island, waiting for us to find him. Victor glanced over the faces of everyone present. He chuckled. It's worth launching a buster call on him this time. Since he is so arrogant, we Marine must arrest him. Victor said seriously. Yes. All the generals and officers in the conference room responded. The sky was overcast and the sea was pitch black. At this moment, the entire deserted island was silent. All creatures disappeared. As if it had been cleaned by someone, the entire island was lifeless. Not even a bug. At this time, Marine's fleet appeared on the distant sea. 20 warships lined up. Victor stood on the bow of the ship, holding binoculars, and looked towards the island. Now, Bullet sat cross-legged on the central peak of the island. Surrounded by leftover dinosaur bones, he ate and drank enough, waiting for Marine to arrive. This guy is too arrogant. Master Victor, let me rush to the island. Master Victor, please entrust me with the Vanguard mission. Victor's subordinates are all scrambling to be the first. Grabbing the bullet is a big deal. Moreover, Victor supervised the battle himself. Of course they have to perform well. Ghost Spider and Dogman looked at Victor one after another, eager to try. Victor put down the binoculars, a smile curled up on his lips. Victor said to Akainu, Sakazuki, you guys come first. Get ready. Akainu gave an order, and Ghost Spider and Dogman were ready to rush to the deserted island. Fire. 20 warships in Marine fired at the same time, and hundreds of shells flew towards Bullet like raindrops. After several rounds of shelling, Ghost Spider, Dogman and others took their subordinates and rushed to the deserted island at the fastest speed. However, just as they landed on the deserted island, blockhouses were suddenly erected on the deserted island. Black barrels protruded from the bunker. Blah blah. The bullets from the machine gun began to fire, and Marines fell in rows. Desert island? This is just the appearance. In fact, the entire desert island has been transformed by Bullet. He turned the deserted island into a battlefield. He's a one-man army, determined to defeat Marine here. Indeed, Roger's death caused him great mental trauma. He must find something to do. It's really exciting to single out Marine alone. He can't wait. As long as Marine dares to come here, he will use blood and fire to make this place his own paradise. The blockhouse that suddenly popped up from the ground broke through the ground like mushrooms after a spring rain. They appeared so quickly that Marine didn't have time to react. The Marines who were shot fell down in rows, like cutting wheat. Clouds of blood mist floated on the beach, like the other shore flowers blooming on Wangchen Road. Hateful. The Ghost Spider jumped up, and the knife in his hand slashed at the bunker. There was a flash of cold light, and the sword was cut in 2 steps. A row of bunkers was cut diagonally. However, Marine did not breathe a sigh of relief. I saw that the bunker that had been cut off was wrapped in red light and merged again. This time it was a giant mechanical arm that was fused. Don't wait for the Ghost Spider to attack it again. The ground trembled again. Countless turrets crawled out of the mud. The Ghost Spider just swung a sickle and smashed one of the bombs into the air. At this moment, another shell roared. He immediately dodged sideways. Bang! A deafening explosion resounded through the sky, and the entire beach trembled. Countless gravel splashed and smoke billowed, completely covering the Ghost Spider's figure. These bunkers, like the undead, keep rising from the ground. Marine finally realized the problem. It's useless to attack them, Bullet must be dealt with. Crane said to Victor. Victor hummed, then looked at Akainu. Akainu, still wearing a hoodie under his military uniform, jumped up and charged Bullet on the moonwalk. At this time, Bullet is controlling the turret and robotic arm on the beach. Like the tentacles of an octopus, the mechanical arm danced at will, sweeping away the Marine on the beach. And Bullet's body at this time also merged with the soil slope below him. Great eruption. Akainu blasted Bullet with a blow that was dozens of times larger than the slope of the earth, a huge lava fist made of lava. Boom. I saw the earth slope was smashed, magma splashed, black smoke covered the sky, like a scene of doomsday. The smoke dissipated and Akainu stood where he was. After the smoke cleared, Bullet patted his chest. As if just a little dust fell on it. Glancing out of the corner of Bullet's eyes, a sneer curled up from the corner of his mouth, while his muscles bulged like an ancient giant. Seeing this, Sakazuki leapt high. Then, his feet hit the ground hard, and his body slammed forward, hitting Bullet like a cannonball. Boom! Accompanied by earth-shattering explosions, the ground under Bullet's feet exploded. I saw a dark red magma pool under Akainu's feet. The blow just now was like a volcanic explosion. Bullet was also blown out. The corners of Akainu's mouth raised slightly, revealing a wicked smile. He jumped quickly, drew a graceful arc in the air, and rushed towards Bullet. Akainu stretched out his right arm, grabbing Bullet's chest. Dark Hound. The magma claws emitting black smoke wanted to pierce Bullet's heart with one move. At this moment, a dazzling red light lit up on Bullet's body, and immediately after, the ground behind him opened up and turned into a sharp spear. The spear was like a dragon, piercing Akainu's heart. Lava erupted from Akainu's body, forming a protective shield that resisted the attack from the spear point. Boom. The magma claw was also avoided by Bullet and hit the beach, leaving a deep hole. You're amazing. Bullet grinned, then turned around, continued to manipulate the mechanical arm on the ground, and rushed towards Akainu. Akainu was silent. Now he is reticent. Bullet didn't mind either, continuing to manipulate the robotic arm. At this moment, Akainu's eyes shrank suddenly, and he felt a gust of wind blowing around him. He quickly dodged sideways, but was still a step too late, and Bullet's side leg grazed his left shoulder. Blood gushed out immediately. Akainu gritted his teeth, clenched his fist with his right hand, and swung fiercely in that direction. Bullet twisted his body, changed his figure in an instant, and narrowly avoided Akainu's fist. Akainu's blow failed, and his body swayed again, throwing himself at Bullet's chest. Bullet's body, shifting position again, dodges Akainu's lunge. Bullet's movements are very agile. He landed on the beach after a few flips in the air. On the sea, Victor and others were watching the battle. Akainu is strong, but Bullet is also strong. Moreover, Bullet has more actual combat experience than Akainu. In hand-to-hand combat, Bullet has the upper hand in technique. Sakazuki is too impatient. At this time, the crane murmured. Fighting between the strong is not a one move to determine the outcome. Akainu wants to kill enemies too much. However, Bullet is a warrior who has emerged from the dead, and has richer experience in life and death. Want to kill Bullet in an instant? That is obviously unrealistic. The best way is to consume. Use up Bullet's stamina and defeat him when Bullet is exhausted. In the original plot, Sengoku used this method to arrest Bullet. Dark red magma burst out from Akainu's body. Akainu chased after him again. This time, he didn't change his tactics and still didn't want to give Bullet any chance. Akainu raised his leg directly, his right leg turned into hot magma, and kicked Bullet's lower abdomen hard. Bullet raised his hand to block the kick. However, the attack was not over yet. In the next second, Akainu's left hand shot out again. No matter how fast Bullet is, it can't compare to the moment when the volcano explodes. This time, Bullet didn't block, but tilted his head away from Akainu's claws. Only, Akainu kicked again. Bullet couldn't dodge and got kicked directly. Boom. His body flew back and fell heavily on the beach. Kicked. Marine exclaimed. Blood spilled from the corner of Bullet's mouth. As expected of you. Victor watched from afar. Akainu is indeed inferior to Kizaru and even Aokiji in terms of skill. This is also caused by character. However, it is also easy to understand that Akainu is iron-blooded and likes to head-to-head. Just let you dodge, then he will speed up until he can't dodge. But Bullet wiped the corner of his mouth and showed a smirk, then let's have a good time. Not only did he not have any signs of decline, but he became more and more bloodthirsty. Akainu rushed forward with a lunge, accumulating power with his right fist, and he wanted to use a heavier punch. However, Bullet wasn't about to hide. Instead, he rushed towards Akainu. Akainu snorted coldly, and his right fist slammed towards Bullet. Bullet's right fist turned black in an instant. Not only that, his eyes shone red, the whole space trembled, and the stones on the ground were shattered and turned into dust, dissipating in the air. The sight, and the way Bullet is now, makes Garp frown. He remembered someone. Conqueror's Hockey Winding. Conqueror's Hockey, originally a 1 in a million qualification, has very few owners. Conqueror's Hockey Winding is a skill that can only be mastered by top experts. At this point, Garp sees Roger in Bullet. In a certain moment, there are so many similarities. Bullet is catching up with Roger and learning from Roger. Roger was his target. The dark red lightning, like substance, wrapped around Bullet's fist and blasted heavily towards the lava volcano. Boom. With a loud noise, the volcano exploded. The whole world is surrounded by flames, as if the end is coming. Bullet is also submerged in lava. If it was an ordinary person, there would be no suspense after this punch. The high temperature of the magma would be enough to burn a person into charcoal. However, Bullet is no ordinary man. Both Bullet and Akainu maintain a punching stance. At this moment, Akainu and Bullet remained motionless. Garp uncle, Crane aunt, you all go and help. Victor to Garp et al. Let the strong men of the headquarters besiege Bullet. Garp frowned. Siege? He has been a marine for so many years, and he has never done anything to besiege someone. This is not a fair competition. Since we have so many people here, we can't just watch or cheer here. Victor said with a smile. Yeah. Crane nodded. Bullet is very strong. If Akainu alone wants to decide the winner in a short period of time, it will definitely not be possible. Of course, I can also take action, but I am the commander of this mission. Victor said it as a matter of course. In Buster Call, there is no reason for the coach to take action. That's too cheap. Crane jumped up and rushed to the battlefield on Moonwalk. Then, Rodney and others behind Victor also stepped on Moonwalk and left the warship. Victor went on to say, let's all go and experience it. There are not many opportunities to fight against the strong. Yes. More Marines leave the warship. Garp frowned, looking at Victor. Victor said to Garp, for the top players, the number still has an advantage. Too many people consume their strength. Garp didn't answer. Victor went on to say, Garp uncle, if you could have used so many troops to surround Roger, Roger might have been arrested 10 years ago. Garp crossed his arms over his chest, a little upset. In this regard, you just don't have the Sengoku uncle to see through. Victor started complaining about Sengoku. Every time Garp hunts down Roger, he only relies on a very small number of elite combat forces. In contrast to Sengoku, it is omnipotent. Not only will Marines be used, but pirates will also be used. In short, as long as he can use it and make the mission successful, he will do whatever it takes. Garp didn't want to hear from Victor anymore. He suddenly found Victor annoyed. Worse than Sengoku. There was a smile on Victor's face. Such sarcasm. So happy. Afterwards, Victor turned his gaze back to the battlefield. Rodney's fists wrapped around Armament Hockey, who slammed a hard punch into Bullet's back. Humph. Bullet let out a cold snort. He had just forced the crane back and punched Akainu head on, and now he had no time to turn around. His whole body was instantly covered with Armament Hockey. Boom. Rodney's fist hit Bullet in the back, and Bullet remained motionless. While Rodney was surprised, Bullet his right hand snapped backwards. A look of horror appeared on Rodney's face. I saw that the stones on the ground around Bullet floated up and stuck to the spine of the tail, turning into a steel tail. An iron tail wrapped around Armament Hockey. Rodney had never heard of this kind of warfare, let alone seen it. The iron tail flung out and slammed into Rodney's chest. Rodney put his hands in front of him, trying to block the blow. However, the disparity in strength is huge. Blood sprayed. Puff. Rodney flew out directly. Fell into the lake not far away. Ha 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 ha. Bullet laughed maniacally, enjoying Rodney's miserable state. Humph. Rodney roared and stood up from the lake. Is this the gap? The gap with the top powerhouse. The fighting spirit in Rodney's eyes made Bullet very satisfied, but Bullet couldn't care about him anymore. Crane's right foot kicked hard, and the toe of the pitch-black shoe precisely kicked Bullet's waist. Bullet felt a stabbing pain in his stomach. What? With a roar, Bullet tried to grab the Crane's ankles. However, Crane's reaction was quick, and after she dodged flexibly, she spotted Akainu out of the corner of her eye. Akainu was already behind Bullet. Sneak attack. Unlike Garp, Akainu Victor and Sengoku have somewhat similar personalities. As long as you can win, it doesn't matter if you sneak attack. Crane hurriedly avoided to avoid being accidentally injured by Akainu. Akainu has a heart of justice, which is naturally a good thing. However, Akainu didn't care about the seriousness of his actions, and he didn't care whether he would accidentally injure his comrades. Seeing Akainu's shot, the surrounding Marines also hurriedly backed away. Ghost Spider and Dogman are no exception. Just now, a Marine was burned by the magma. Akainu's attack is very fierce, his attack is completely unreasonable, and his moves are not complicated, relying entirely on speed and strength. However, he happened to meet Bullet. The stronger the opponent, the more excited Bullet is about. What? Bullet turned around hastily, but he didn't dodge. Boom. Lava punches Bullet in the chest. The bursting magma turned the surroundings into a sea of AA flames. The blazing flames did not stop Bullet's footsteps. The fighting spirit in his eyes was completely ignited. Bullet continued to charge forward, breaking through the lava. Akainu was about to dodge, but his speed was still slower than Bullet's, and Bullet's heavy punch still hit Akainu's shoulder. Blood dripped from Akainu's mouth, but he still didn't flinch. Akainu throws an uppercut that lands hard on the bridge of Bullet's nose. Bullet's nose collapsed. Immediately afterwards, Akainu's left leg kicked out again. Bullet dodges, reaching out to grab Akainu's leg. Wanting to break Akainu's calf with force. Akainu's face was contorted with a ferocious expression. Bullet's fingers were like pincers, and he couldn't break free. Simply, Akainu was heartbroken. Even though his legs were broken, Bullet's head had to be blown off with one blow. With all his strength, Akainu shot out with his right hand, striking Bullet's left cheek hard. Bullet was also sensible. He didn't continue to exert force, but chose to let go, avoiding Akainu's attack. If that wasn't enough, Akainu's body flipped in the air, and his knees came up again, resting on Bullet's chest. Bullet's body flew up and crashed into a hill in the distance. In terms of desperate, or the kind of fighting for life, there are really few people in Marine who work harder than Akainu. Boom. Bullet fell to the ground. After Bullet spat out a mouthful of blood, he got up. At this time, the surrounding Marines looked at Bullet with fear in their eyes. Is that human being? What is a monster? In the eyes of ordinary people, if you are immune to death, if he hits you, you will be crippled even if you don't die. This is the monster. There is no doubt that in the eyes of many Marines present, Bullet is a monster. At this time, Marines' casualties continued to increase. Wright took a statistical form and quietly came to Victor. Out of the corner of Garp's eye, he glanced at Wright. Wright was beside Victor, and said to Victor, "Senior, just counted. The battle has continued until now. 1415 people were killed and 3,941 people were seriously injured." Garp frowned when he heard the casualty data. Nearly 5,000 casualties have been paid to capture Bullet. This is why Marine needs to think when capturing monsters from New World. Like when Sengoku was in Summit War and decided to kill Whitebeard. If you want to kill Whitebeard, how many casualties will you need to pay, and whether you can accept the price. After Marine paid such a high price, can the situation in the sea be stabilized? This is what the commander needs to consider. Garp is not so troublesome. He personally arrests people and minimizes casualties as much as possible in every mission. Therefore, many Marines are willing to follow Garp, can be promoted, and can reduce the chance of death. If you don't even have the courage to fight monsters, then what qualifications do you have to be Marines? Victor said with a blank face. Yes. Wright said no more. The senior is right. Wright brainwashed himself again. Of course, this is also for Garp. Victor doesn't mind being defined by Garp as an iron-blooded person, or even a cold-blooded person. This kind of label is currently beneficial to him. At least, this is a bonus item in future power struggles. If Aokiji also has this awareness, then in the original plot, Aokiji will definitely be the Marine Marshal. As Wright reports, Bullet again controls everything around him, regardless of his own consumption. The guns that Marine dropped on the ground, as well as the munitions and ships that Bullet had buried on the island long ago, were all fused together by him. He seems to be tireless. Armament hockey is always covering the body, regardless of physical exertion. Akainu wiped the blood from his nose, and just now he punched Bullet head on. He hit Bullet on the cheek, and Bullet hit him on the bridge of the nose. Ha ha ha. Bullet became more and more courageous as he fought. His heaving chest and faster breathing all represented the accelerated consumption of his physical strength. This should have been a good thing. According to the understanding of normal people, as long as one enters this state, the defeat will happen sooner or later. Garp uncle, how many people do you think will need to be sacrificed to defeat him if this continues? At this time, Victor suddenly spoke. Garp frowned, but didn't answer. Victor continued. If you had taken action from the beginning, the casualties would have been much less. Maybe there would not have been 5,000 casualties. Garp gritted his teeth, displeased to hear this. Does Victor mean to shift the responsibility for Marines' casualties to him? As the commander of Buster Call. Anyway, take responsibility. Victor continued. You think it's impossible to win with so many people besieging him, but a group of us can't be here and watch you single-handedly. What's more, young people need the opportunity to fight in real combat, and they can't do anything let us do it. The more Garp listened, the more he frowned. Victor seemed to be on the moral high ground. He is obviously a junior, but he is teaching him. Victor said. This is only for Bullet. If you face Whitebeard in the future, if you continue to watch the game like this, Marine will not be killed or injured. I really can't win that guy. Although it is a hypothesis, in the original plot, Garp and others paddled in the Summit War, causing Marine's casualties to increase. This is a fact. Of course, if you can just watch these young people lose their precious lives. Enough. Garp can't listen anymore. Victor is more annoying than Tang Sang. Moral kidnapping. This is the CPU him. Don't be angry, I didn't mean to blame you. You are an elder, getting old. This kind of battle should be taken by me, but I am the commander now. Before Victor finished speaking, Garp jumped up and stepped into the battlefield on Moonwalk. Wright and the others were dumbfounded. The senior is awesome. Sir Victor is amazing. This is unbearable. Victor smiled, then sat back in his chair, smoking a cigarette, and continued watching the battle. He is not afraid of high casualties. When the subordinates die, they will recruit again. As for his money, now is the time to use it. After the war, he was still able to win people's hearts after he was given enough pensions. And, as long as he continues to take care of the families of the fallen, he's still the most worthy commander in the Marine to follow. Under Victor's comment, Garp stepped on Moonwalk and rushed into the battlefield suddenly. Boom. Garp fell from a height and landed on Bullet with one blow. Bullet jumped up, dodging Garp's attack. Boom. In the eyes of everyone, Garp blasted a large pit with a diameter of more than 100 meters on the ground. Dust filled the air, and the entire island shook for 3 seconds. Garp couldn't take a single blow, so he immediately shaved and disappeared into the pit. Bullet's speed was also very fast, and Garp was suddenly pulled away by a distance of 100 meters. Bullet was no stranger to Garp. They used to deal with Garp a lot on Roger's ship. Every time Garp ran after Roger, sometimes Roger would fight Garp if he didn't want to run away. After the fight, Roger continued to run, regardless of the outcome. In this way, you run and chase, like a house-playing game where officers and soldiers catch thieves. Still, Garp is really strong. There is no doubt about it. A person who can fight Roger head-on without losing ground. Enough to get Bullet's endorsement. However, just as Bullet pulled away, a wave of heat hit him behind him. Bullet had no time to dodge, so he could only hold his breath, and saw the huge magma fist land on Bullet. Boom. The magma fist exploded, magma splashed, and the surrounding land was burned into scorched earth. Looking at Bullet again, the corners of his mouth are red again. He raised his hand and wiped the corner of his mouth. Garp, Crane, and Akainu stood in a triangle and surrounded Bullet in the middle. Sweat was growing on Bullet's brow. Sure enough, once Garp entered the fray, Bullet couldn't keep armament hockey at full strength. Bullet was distracted. Observation hockey and armament hockey, the former consumes mental energy, while the latter consumes physical energy. Even if Bullet is a monster, facing this level of fighting intensity, he will not be able to stand it. That's right, this is Siege. Victor chuckled. Singled out or something, the most boring. As for the naive idea of AA using more to fight less and winning without force, he will not have it. After Garp entered the battle, there was no suspense in the battle. Garp teamed up with Akainu, he and others. With the joint efforts of the three, Bullet was captured in less than half a day. It would have been easier to catch if Garp had been more serious. Bullet was also stubborn. He was seriously injured and exhausted before he was arrested. However, no matter how hard the ending is, being arrested is being arrested. The world will not know the process of this battle, only the result. As the commander of Buster Call this time, Victor is naturally a good leader. The military exploits are in hand. However, more than 5,000 Marines were killed or injured. For the character of the great Victor, money still has to be paid. Although Victor is rich and good at making money, it still hurts. The family members of the dead will receive 1 million Baileys. After that, I will send money every month. Treatment expenses for serious injuries, nutrition expenses. Sure enough, when the cannon fired, the gold was 10,000 taels. Of course, it's all worth it. The 5 elders should be pleased with how efficiently they caught Bullet. On the way back, Victor ordered to stop on an island. The island is called Piscino Island. The Kingdom of Ano on the island is a member country of the world government. I heard that the Marine fleet was in port, and King Aiden III of the Kingdom of Ano came to welcome Victor with nobles and ministers overnight. Victor Admiral has worked hard. Vice Admiral Garp has worked hard. Crane Vice Admiral has worked hard. I have prepared some small gifts, please be sure to accept them. Aiden III had a flattering face, he was just a king of a small country who seized power by a coup d'etat copyright tat. Because it is a small country, he is not even eligible to participate in World Summit. Regardless of the powerful country, the powerful pirate group around, or other underground forces, they all have the ability to destroy him. Therefore, Aiden III's attitude towards Marine is called respect. What's more, the 3 people in front of them all have a lot of background. Victor is the youngest admiral of naval headquarters, the ruthless man who captured the Golden Lion with his own hands. Garp is the Marine hero, the man who beat the rocks. Crane is Marine's chief of staff. These 3 people are powerful people in naval headquarters, how dare he offend them. Aiden III heard that Victor was greedy for money, and he wanted to empty his treasury. As long as his country is still there, he can continue to extract money from the people. I have long heard that His Majesty the King is the kindest to Marine, and it is true. Victor laughed, he was very pleased with a man like Aiden III. The gold, silver and jewels brought by Aiden III are of great value. Victor roughly estimates that it is worth at least 10 billion Baileys. This is not a small amount. You know, for a poor country like Doris Rosa, with all the power of the whole country, even 10 billion is enough. It is an honor for our country to serve the world government and Marine. Aiden III said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Victor patted Aiden II's fat shoulder, Your Majesty, I want to make friends with you. It is a solitary honor, replied Aiden III. Spend the night here tonight, everyone will have a holiday, and all other expenses will be counted on my head. Let's have fun. Victor turned to look at Marine behind him, and shouted loudly. Long live Lord Victor! Long live Lord Victor! Long live Lord Victor! On the deck of every warship, the Marines are very excited. They are all young men, and they successfully captured Bullet, the heir of the devil. Also, they really need to relax. Garp, he and the others looked at each other and shook their heads when they heard the words. Victor really knows how to buy people's hearts. They also saw the charm of Victor. Akainu and others watched this scene. The officers and soldiers of their unit were also cheering. Come on. Let's go have a drink. Victor walked up to Akainu and hooked his shoulders. Akainu was taken away by Victor. Victor did not forget to introduce to Aiden III. His name is Sakazuki, and he will definitely be promoted to Vice Admiral when he returns this time, and he will also be the future Admiral of our Marine. Sakazuki Rear Admiral, no, it's Sakazuki Admiral. Aiden II's mind is active, and he is already preparing gifts. Don't be sullen, it's a holiday now, be happy. Victor shouted at Ghost Spider and Dogman again. Laugh. Make a fuss. Brothers, don't save money tonight. Victor didn't have Admiral's heirs, and became active in a short time. The Ghost Spider, Dugman and others usually follow Akainu, and they are all reticent. Akainu will not be like Victor. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Sora was reading the facts. It is the list of rewards sent back by Victor. Above the list, Akainu's name is placed first. Rodney, Ghost Spider, Dogman, and others followed. Garp and Crane are also on the list. In addition to asking for credit, there is also a list of pensions. Another large sum of money. Sora rubbed his forehead. Marine paid a big price this time. However, it is always good news to catch Bullet. Tuck tuck. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Sora yelled casually. Sengoku walked in. Is there something wrong? Kong put down the fax and asked. Sengoku came up to Sora with a folder in his hand. This is? Kong asked. Putting down the folder, Sengoku explained. In order to curb the rise of pirates, I came up with a Takukai plan. Qiwuhai. Kong opened the folder curiously. After seeing the contents, Sora contracted in pain, and the shock could not be concealed on his face. This idea is too exaggerated. Sengoku explained. In the next few years, or even 10 years, it will reach the peak of the pirate era, and countless big pirates and great heroes will swarm up. This kind of power belonging to the times, even if the world government is in a hurry, it will be difficult to deal with it, and strengthening the armed forces is a necessary choice at the moment. Hearing the words, Kuang nodded in agreement. If you want to deal with the increasingly powerful pirate forces in the sea, the development of marine is definitely indispensable. However, Sengoku hesitated to speak. So Kuang smoked a cigar. There are no outsiders here, just tell me. Sengoku continued. However, the world government has maintained the balance of the world for 800 years. The power checks and balances within the world government are very stable. If marine suddenly becomes powerful, then the world government may not be happy to see it. Kuang smiled slightly, and there was a bitterness in this smile. Sora and Sengoku both understand marine. The power of the pirates is growing, and marine just needs to meet the growth. However, marine insisted on keeping the original system. Why? The world government will not let the marine family dominate. Balance. Balance of power. This is the truth about power. In the original plot, Sengoku also likes to play with balance. He balances the sea with the justice of the ruler of the world. The same is true for the world government, which balances the world. I'll give the 5 elders a suggestion and I'm sure they'll take it. Empty said. The next morning, fly to the Holy Land Mariajoy. Pangu City, inside the Room of Power. Sora has handed over Sengoku's advice to the 5 elders. After the 5 elders finished watching, they all showed surprised but satisfied expressions on their faces. The Qiwuhai plan is indeed a very good plan. Win over pirates, deal with pirates. Not only weakened the strength of the pirates, but also strengthened their own strength. Although Shichibukai were recruited, treating them was like treating toilets. Use it when it is useful, and kick it away when it is useless. Moreover, instead of strengthening marine and leaving hidden dangers to the rule of the world government, it is better to recruit pirates at a very small price. With little hesitation, the 5 elders glanced at each other, and they each nodded, approving the plan. 5 elders said to Kuang, "We can start to execute." Yes. Sora nodded, and was about to turn around and leave. At this time, 5 elders stopped Sora. If you were to choose the successor of the marshal now, who would you choose? After hearing the question from 5 elders, Sora replied without thinking, they are all suitable. Well, you go back. 5 elders didn't ask the bottom line. Kuang turned and left. 5 elders looked at Kuang Li's back, they glanced at each other, and there were smiles on their faces. Kuang is a qualified commander. During his tenure, Marine managed well and played a positive role in stabilizing the rule of the world government. Moreover, Sora is absolutely obedient to the 5 elders and will not disobey the 5 elders' orders. This is why the 5 elders chose him as the field marshal and will make him the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the future. It's just the wave of the new era that has brought about uncontrollable changes. 5 elders still needs to continue to watch. When Kuang left Pangu City, he contacted Sengoku with a phone bug. Holding the phone bug, Kuang said, 5 elders has been approved, and the Qiwuhai project can begin. Mimicking Sengoku's expression, the phone bug replies, I'm going to contact them now. The they in Sengoku's mouth are his chosen Shichibukai candidates. Bullet was imprisoned and impelled down. Akainu was promoted to Vice Admiral, Ghost Spider and others were also promoted, and Buster Call came to an end. Victor's life also returned to normal. The only difference is that there is an extra task to arrest Ohara scholars. As a time traveler, Victor knows the cause and effect. Ohara scholars committed their own deaths and wanted to uncover the historical truth, which touched the pain point of celestial dragons. Naturally, the celestial dragons won't let them go. Victor remembers that this task was handled by Sengoku. How could you give it to yourself? Is it the butterfly effect? Because of his outstanding performance, he was valued by the 5 elders. Anyway, the Ohara matter had to be dealt with and given the 5 elders an answer. After all, this matter involves a pain point for celestial dragons. Maybe I Am will notice too. It would be a good thing if I Am could notice him. The prerequisite for becoming the king of the world is to get rid of I Am on the void throne. Now, Victor knows nothing about Im's strength, or the national treasure under Im's control. Entering Im's vision in advance may help to collect information on I Am in the national treasure. Tuk tuk. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Victor called to the door. The door opened and Rodney walked in. Lord Victor. Rodney was also promoted to Vice Admiral. In just 1 year, he has been promoted to 2 levels, and he is now considered an outstanding representative of the Blue Ocean Club. There is a task for you to deal with. Victor threw the portfolio on the table to Rodney. Rodney caught it with both hands and opened the portfolio. The contents of the file bag are the scholars who arrested Orochi and other Ohara. Why arrest them? Rodney didn't understand. Because judging from the data, these scholars are all high-level intellectuals at the doctoral level, and the projects they are engaged in are also archaeological. He neither robbed his family, nor did he do anything outrageous. However, Rodney didn't ask. He knew how to be a Marine. Victor wrote about it, and taught them how to get along with their superiors. I know you're confused. Victor threw another cigarette to Rodney, and Rodney caught it. Sit down and smoke. Yes. Rodney sat across from Victor. Victor smoked a cigarette and said, Do you know what history is? Rodney was taken aback when he heard the words, then shook his head. Victor continued. History is a little girl dressed up by the winner. You can make her beautiful or make him ugly, do you understand? Rodney nodded thoughtfully. Victor went on to say, History has a blank century. What happened in this century is what these scholars are curious about. Are you curious? Rodney hesitated for a moment, then nodded slightly. That's why I came to you today. Victor took a deep breath. I don't want you to go the wrong way. Rodney listened carefully. Actually, is it important what happened in the blank 100 years? Actually, it doesn't matter. Whether the 20 kings saved the world, is it a human hero, does it matter? Actually, it doesn't matter. The point is that the descendants of the 20 kings are celestial dragons. They are the actual rulers of the world, and our marine is to maintain the rule of the world government. So, no matter what happens in 100 years, what we have to do. Victor paused at last on purpose. Rodney replied seriously, maintain the rule of the world government. That's right. Victor smiled. It's good that you know it. With this awareness, go and arrest them. Yes. Rodney stood up. After Rodney left, right on the side hesitated to speak. Are you curious about the blank 100 years? Victor asked with a smile. Right nodded. Victor chuckled. It's better not to inquire about it. People who know about it probably won't survive. Could it be that 100 years of history threatens? Just as Wright was about to speak, Victor made a silent gesture towards him. Wright dared not speak. Victor said, We are Marine, just complete our mission. Senior, I understand. Wright nodded. At this time, Victor picked up the newspaper on the table and suddenly asked, Did Vice Admiral Garp ask for leave? Yes. How do you know? Wright asked curiously. Victor didn't answer. Wright continued with his work. Victor turned and looked out the window, which was Marine Plaza in Marineford. Garp must have gone to South Blue. Before Roger died, he entrusted Ace's mother and child to Garp. Thinking of Ace, Victor couldn't help but narrow his eyes. If he hadn't intervened, would the Summit War have happened 20 years later? See Circle Calendar 1500, Mariajoy. Victor is on duty at the Holy Land for a while. In addition to the daily affairs of Marine, it is the affairs of the Blue Ocean Club. With the growth of the Blue Ocean Club, there are more and more trivial matters. The purpose of Victor forming the Blue Ocean Club is to form cliques and form his own party members. Now the goal is achieved. However, the internal problems of the Blue Ocean Club have gradually become prominent. Especially the Blue Ocean will be expanding. Not to mention all the Marines who joined the Blue Ocean Club, at least half of them want to follow Victor to get promoted and make a fortune. However, there are only so many Marine establishments, and the Dove-led faction accounts for a large part. Now it is true that there are too many monks and too few porridge. If you want to be promoted, it is not so easy. Victor is also difficult sometimes. He is just an admiral now, not the bastard in the wishing well. How can he fulfill everyone's wishes? However, in the final analysis, there is still a lack of someone who can manage things. It would be easy if someone could help him manage the Blue Ocean Club. A tool is missing. Victor is also thinking about candidates recently. Fortunately, the contradictions and problems have not been highlighted at present, otherwise Victor would be even more busy. Wright came to Victor with a blonde young officer. Felix, I heard that a girl is pursuing you recently. Victor said to the blonde officer with a smile. The blonde officer is called Felix, and he is one of the officers trained by the Blue Ocean Club. He was in the same class as Aokiji. Currently, Aokiji has been promoted to Vice Admiral. Under Victor's training, Felix also rose to the rank of Commodore. There is no problem in upgrading to Vice Admiral in the future. Yes, she is a gentle girl, but I have already rejected her, Felix said calmly. His purpose of joining the Blue Ocean Club is to purify the sea and eliminate all pirates. Now that pirates are getting more and more rampant, how can he have the heart to fall in love? What a ruthless kid. Victor smoked a cigarette and said with a smile, "How is hockey doing?" Felix replied, "Thank you for your concern, senior. Now you have mastered the armed color and knowledge color, but more practice is needed." They all graduated from the military academy, so Felix and the others directly called Victor the senior in private. This makes the relationship closer. Victor nodded, then patted the box next to his desk. Felix looked at the box, which was just the right size to hold a devil fruit. "Here you are." Victor gave the devil fruit to Felix. Felix took the devil fruit. "This is the bird fruit, the form of the ape-eating eagle. It is very suitable for you and can also make up for your physical strength," Victor said. After hearing Victor's words, Felix's body trembled. Felix and Aokiji are in the same class. The reason why they are relatively mediocre in the same class is that their physical fitness is not good. If he has the same physical gifts as Aokiji, then he will also be reused by the world government. "Thank you, senior," Felix said sincerely. "Keep working hard, there are more important tasks to be entrusted to you." Victor said it earnestly. After hearing Victor's words, Felix was even more excited. After Felix left, Victor looked up to the sky. Can Felix be a good toolman? Or take another look? Or, to catch a few potential children? But it takes a lot of time to cultivate it. Maybe try it, though. For example, Lu Qi is close in front of him. As long as Victor wants, he can ask Lu Qi to come here at any time. West Blue. Except for this woman, her companions are all dead. At sea, Marine intercepted a cargo ship. According to the information provided by CP5, the scholars from Ohara are hiding in the cargo ship. The cargo ship was stopped by a warship 30 nautical miles after leaving the sea. At this time, Rodney boarded the warship. Rodney takes orders from Victor to arrest the scholars of Ohara. However, the scholars of Ohara did not let their hands down. They were beaten to death by CP5 agents during the resistance. Only Orovia is still alive. Rodney frowned as he looked at the white-haired woman lying on the deck with tears streaming down her face. "Go to the nearest marine base first," Rodney gave the order. "What did we do wrong?" When two sailors are about to take Orovia, Orovia asks Rodney. Rodney smoked and looked at Orovia. "If the world government doesn't want you to investigate, then you shouldn't investigate." "But, is it wrong for us to investigate the historical truth?" There was sadness in Orovia's voice. Her husband and her companions have all died one after another during these 8 years. They are just ordinary scholars who just want to know what happened in the world during the blank 100 years. Rodney said coldly, "Take it away." Yes. 2 Marines dragged Orovia away. At this time, the agents of CP5 also searched a large number of historical documents on board. And the notes of the scholars. This is really terrible. After seeing the contents of the note, an agent realized that the situation was not good. Because Orovia and others have investigated the 100-year history of the blank beyond their estimates. Blue blue. Blue blue. The phone bug on Victor's desktop kept beeping. Victor is drinking wine and enjoying Stella's oil push and back service. Stella is a good learner, and she wants to give back to Victor in her own way. In her eyes, Victor is her everything. Victor was lying on the bed, and Orovia brought him the phone bug. "Master Victor." At this time, Rodney's voice came from the phone bug. "Yeah." Victor closed his eyes and answered casually. "Everyone is dead except the woman," Rodney said. "Dai is dead." Victor didn't have any mood swings. Rodney then reported. "I noticed the reaction of CP5. This time, the matter may be serious." Victor said. "Well, then you stay in West Blue and wait for the next order." "Yes." Rodney ended the call. Victor puts the phone bug aside, knowing that a buster call to Ohara is coming. Since he was in charge of the matter, he must have performed the buster call. His relationship with the doves was not good. This time he destroys Ohara, so the conflict between him and the doves will be even greater. Just thinking about it. Looking forward to it. Victor's mouth curled into a smile, and he was expecting conflict and conflict. There is no conflict, no contradiction, how to stir up trouble and gain benefits. As predicted. Shortly after Rodney reported the situation, Victor received orders from Kuang. Empty wants Victor to immediately dispatch the fleet and launch a buster call to Ohara. Victor took out the golden phone bug and gave the order for buster call. This time buster call's lineup includes Akainu and Aokiji. In addition, there is Rodney and the two older vice admirals. Buddha Victor suddenly thought of something. Because the headquarters assigned the task to him instead of Sengoku, the vice admiral who performed the task was also replaced by Rodney from Saul. Careless. Victor originally wanted to take this opportunity to train Rodney and make Rodney gilded. Unexpectedly, the plot changed. In the original plot, after Saul contacted Orovia, he expressed sympathy for their experience, so he took the risk to release Orovia. Later, Saul was seriously injured and was washed by the sea to Ohara, only to be saved by Robin. Only then did Saul protect Ohara, and was finally killed by Aokiji. And Aokiji released Robin out of compassion. Robin spent the next 2 decades experiencing the darkest side of humanity until he met the Straw Hat crew. If Robin dies in Ohara, how much does that affect the future? Victor begins the assessment. Nor would it be appropriate to assign Saul to replace Rodney now. And many more. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration came to Victor's mind. Isn't he short of tools? Isn't this off the shelf? Robin's personal ability is the best choice to be an assistant. When she was Shaq Lock Doll's second in command, Shaq Lock Doll was still very satisfied. As for being sent to the Straw Hat ship as a historian, that's a fart. She is not the only one who can understand the text of history. Kozuki Sukiyaki is still alive. If Straw Hat crew is really that lucky, let them touch it. Right, Victor called. Wright put down the documents in his hand and walked up to Victor. Victor said to Wright, "Go get Felix." "Yes." Wright nodded. Felix is now a Commodore, and Victor didn't send him out recently, but stayed in the headquarters for training. Although Victor is Admiral, the position of naval headquarters is a carrot and a hole. Except for the branch in the 4 seas, the army directly under the headquarters, and the branch headed by G, every position is not always watched by a group of people. There are many members of the Blue Ocean Club, and there are many people who try their best to get ahead. Therefore, Victor recently came up with a new trick. That is the Star Cradle project. The so-called General Star Cradle project is to regularly recall generals with potential and meritorious service penultimate to the headquarters for training. After training, they can be awarded more important positions. In this way, not only does it appear fair, but it also makes them more positive. In the Star Cradle project, Felix was among the first batch of members. After getting the devil fruit, Felix is also busy with cultivation now. Felix and Aokiji are in the same class, however, their light is completely overshadowed by Aokiji. Not to mention Zephyr's first disciples, which are even more monsters. Now Felix only thinks about training and enhancing his own strength. As for future arrangements, Felix is not worried at all. He believes that Senior Victor will make arrangements. After receiving Victor's summons, Felix took tens of seconds to quickly rinse, and then came to Victor. At this point, there are only 2 people in the office, Victor and Felix. Victor said to Felix, "Now there is a task for you." "Senior, please tell me," Felix said to Victor. "I'm going to Ohara for you, and bring someone back. This matter must be kept secret, and no one else may know." Felix nodded seriously. Since it was a confidential mission, he naturally didn't dare to be careless. Victor said, "Go to Ohara, find a kid named Nico Robin, and bring her back." "Yes." Felix turned and left. Ohara is a very famous place in West Blue. Because it has the largest number of scholars and the largest library in the world, the Tree of Omniscience. Today, as usual, Robin is doing chores at home. Using the power of flower fruit, Robin gets all the chores done in no time. Then, Robin found the bread, and as usual, she spread the jam carefully. Don't spread too much jam, or my aunt will be angry. After dinner, Robin wants to go to the beach. She often goes to the beach alone. Usually no one would go there, it was a paradise for her to play alone. You will not be discriminated against by other children, and you will not be isolated by town residents. Stepping on the ice-cold, soft beach, let the waves rush to the soles of your feet. At this moment, she was completely relaxed physically and mentally. However, Robin didn't notice that there was a big bird in the sky following her. As soon as Robin came to the beach, the big bird in the sky swooped down. Robin was covered in the shadow of the big bird. She turned and looked up. I saw a huge eagle about to pounce on her. Scared, Robin ran away. However, how could she outrun the eagle? The eagle landed in front of Robin, and transformed under Robin's astonished gaze. It's people. Next, Robin's eyes went black, and she was knocked out by the man. 2 days later. Off the coast of Ohara, 5 vice admirals, 10 rear admirals, and a fleet of 10 warships are ready. Because Saul didn't show up, Aokiji stayed on the deck. Now Aokiji has started salting fish. He wears a blindfold and sleeps in a chair. As for the mission this time, he didn't pay much attention to it. Akainu's boat is next door, and Akainu is no longer wearing a hoodie, but has changed into a suit and shirt, and a marine cap. Under the influence of Victor, Akainu became sunny. He is not alone in his pursuit of justice. Rodney raised his wrist and glanced at the time. He was waiting for an order from Lord Victor. At the same time, agents of CP5 have boarded Ohara. The agents sprinted down the street, scaring residents to take cover on the side of the road. Spandam was humming. After completing today's task, he has the capital to be promoted again. Not to mention, he had his back against Victor. With Victor Admiral covering him, what is he afraid of? Arrest all the scholars and take away all suspicious items. Spandam's mission is to find out the progress of Ohara's research. This is also the order of the 5 elders. 5 elders cares about a blank century of history. Although Spandam was also a little curious, he was a sensible person. If he knew too much about some things, he was very close to death. Soon, the scholars of Ohara were brought out by the agents. They were held at gunpoint by agents. However, none of the scholars, including Dr. Qiwuhai, were afraid. They don't think they have committed a crime. Since there is no crime, what are you afraid of? Inside the Tree of Omniscience, CP5 agents pushed down the bookshelves and smashed the walls. They were looking for evidence. Find evidence of Ohara scholars studying historical texts. As long as evidence can be found, these seniors have violated the laws of the world. Deservedly needs to be cleaned up. Although the world government can also directly erase them, the scholars of Ohara are the most famous group of people in the world. Therefore, even if they are to be erased, sufficient evidence is needed. These bastards. Hey, be careful, these books are priceless treasures. Some scholars shouted. However, the agents of CP5 didn't care at all. Spandam brought 2 subordinates to Dr. Kroba. He smoked a cigarette, looked Kroba up and down and said, "Actually, you don't have to pretend. I know that you are secretly studying the historical text. If you hand over the text now, if you come out, you will suffer less." I don't know what you're talking about, we're just studying history. Dr. Kroba played with words, refusing to admit that he was studying the text of history. It's like you want to catch Lu XX, what does it have to do with me, Joe XX? This confident look made Spandam unhappy for a while. You wait. Spandam gritted his teeth. Although Orovia does not admit that he is Ohara's senior, but from the belongings found on them, their identities as scholars can already be inferred. It's just that she just won't admit it. Right now, we can only wait for the things to be found before dealing with them. Boom. At this time, the Tree of Omniscience exploded. Sir, we found historical texts in a basement. An agent excitedly came to Spandam to report their findings. Scholars keep historical texts very well hidden. However, CP5 really dug 3 feet into the ground, and they just found it out. Ha ha ha. Spanda laughed triumphantly, and now he immediately took out the phone bug, and he wanted to report to 5 elders. In no time, 5 elders' phone bugs made contact in no time. Spandam, have you found the evidence? The phone bug imitated the deep voice of the old man with the goatee. Spandam lost the arrogance just now, and said respectfully, "The historical text has been found, and it is confirmed that it is related to the scholars of Ohara. Let me chat with the 5 elders for a while, just in time for me to report on the progress of the research with them." At this moment, Dr. Kroba called out to Spandam. Spandam frowned, but heard 5 elders say, "Give him the phone bug." Yes. Spandam asked his subordinates to bring the phone bug to Dr. Qiwuhai. Dr. Kroba took the microphone, and chatted with the 5 elders about 100 years of history, and speculated based on the history they had obtained. When Dr. Klobel mentioned the Great Kingdom, the 5 elders ordered the shots to be fired and killed him. Blue blue, blue blue. The phone bug kept calling. Victor picked up the microphone. Erase Ohara. This time the order was not issued by Sora, but by 5 elders himself. I understand. Victor knew the 5 elders had been stabbed in the gut. So, Victor picked up the golden phone bug, and he issued an order. It has been determined that Ohara's scholars have violated the world's laws and studied ancient weapon in private. From now on, after the CP5 agents on the island have withdrawn, they will start indiscriminate attacks on Ohara. On the deck of the warship, Rodney, Aokiji, Akainu and others heard the order. Only Aokiji frowned. Research on ancient weapon. What a bunch of crazy scholars. What is ancient weapon? Although I don't understand it very well, I heard that it can destroy the world. Destroying the world, that's really terrifying. The marine soldiers talked a lot. These soldiers are the bottom, they have no chance to distinguish between good and evil, or have no chance to distinguish between good and evil. The officer said that Ohara's scholars are demons, so the scholars are demons. If you violate the order, you will be arrested or even shot. Quick! Get out of here! Quick retreat! CP5's agents quickly evacuated Ohara after receiving the retreat order. The same goes for Spandam. When the residents of the town heard that Ohara was going to be destroyed, they all ran frantically to the port, and they wanted to leave by refuge boat. The scholars of Ohara looked at Dr. Klobel on the ground. Dr. Kloba's heart was shot through by a bullet, and he would definitely not survive. Let me aboard. Don't squeeze, let me go up first. On the pier, the residents of Ohara are scrambling to get out of Ohara. Only the scholars of Ohara did not go anywhere. Aokiji picked up the binoculars and looked at the scene in the distance. Watch people scramble to board the refuge boat. As long as you can board the refuge boat, you can avoid the buster call. Just then, Victor's voice sounded again. In order to avoid scholars pretending to be ordinary residents, it is better to kill 1,000 mistakes than to let one go. When Victor's voice reached Aokiji's ears, his pupils constricted. So that the world will not be destroyed by ancient weapon. For justice. As soon as Victor finished speaking, Aokiji heard the sound of shelling. I saw that Akainu's ship fired first, and the shells hit the refuge ship. After being hit, the refuge boat burned rapidly. After continuous shelling, the refuge ship was shattered and sank into the sea. Seeing this scene, Aokiji couldn't help clenching his fists. Victor, Akainu. These 2 guys, is this their justice? As Aokiji gritted his teeth and suppressed his anger, the cannonball flew towards the tree of omniscience. Immediately after the shell hit, it burst into flames. As the fire blazed, engulfing scholars trying to salvage the books. The tree of omniscience, one of the world's most important treasures. Starting today, it will be erased from the world. Aokiji gripped the side of the boat with both hands. There was nothing he could do about it. Can only watch helplessly, but cannot change. Where is this place? When Robin woke up, he found himself locked in the room. The room is locked. However, with her ability, she could still find a chance to unlock it. Click. The door lock was open. Robin pretended not to wake up. She was going to launch a sneak attack with her ability when the other party was not prepared. Stella walked in pushing the dining cart. Haven't you woken up yet? Didn't Felix Commodore say he would wake up at this point? Stella muttered, then left the dining car, turned and left. The door was gently closed, and Robin rolled over from the bed. She went to the dining car and lifted the silver cover. On the dinner plate, the food in full bloom exudes temptation. Robin couldn't help but picked up the fork, inserted a piece of steak, and put it in his mouth. The meat was very tender and tasted great. It was simply the most delicious food she had ever eaten. You're awake. Robin just took a bite, and when she was about to take a second bite, a man's voice came into her ears. Who's talking? Robin was taken aback. She was pretending to be asleep just now, and now she was stealing food. After being discovered, she was naturally nervous. In this strange environment, she was terrified. Later, Robin found the surveillance phone bug in the room. It's been watching her. Is it talking to itself? Although Robin became a doctor at the age of 8, she is only a child and has not seen much in the world. Of course, it has never seen the monitoring phone bug. Such a big snail? Still talking. As Robin observes, Victor watches her from across the room. It's not a good boy to waste food, Victor said. After listening to Victor's words, Robin looked at the food in the food truck for a while. They are really alluring. Buddha, if you are doubting my identity, then there is no need. You are just a child. Even if you are sold, you must be full to have the strength to escape. Am I right? After listening to Victor's words, Robin began to eat food seriously. The food is really delicious. She picked up a piece of cake. The fruit on it was so rich and so sweet that Robin couldn't bear to put it down. She wiped it gently with her little hand, and took a bite. This feeling is so wonderful. Robin has never eaten such a delicious cake. Are such delicious cakes themselves in heaven? She had seen people in the small town eating it through the window, but she didn't expect it to be so delicious. After Robin finished eating, Stella opened the door again, and she said to Robin, "Please follow me." Led by Stella, Robin came to Victor's study. Pushing open the door, Robin saw Victor. Words such as tall, handsome, and majestic can all be used on Victor. He was wearing a black robe, with a cold expression on his face, looking difficult to get close to. This man, it looks terrible. Sit down. Victor pointed to the sofa. Robin nodded and walked over. After she sat down, she looked at the proud man in front of her and asked, "You arrested me. What am I going to do?" "No need to do anything," Victor replied indifferently. Such a simple answer stunned Robin. Don't need to do anything? Robin thought she was going to be taken into slavery, because she'd heard of things like this, where the townspeople would scare children into keeping them from running away lest they be caught by the slave ships. At this time, under the instruction of Victor, Stella took out a piece of paper. The paper is full of words. The content recorded on this paper is the most detailed thing I know. Please take a look, Victor said. Taking the paper, Robin looked down carefully. The above content is very short, only a few dozen lines. Your father is dead and your mother is alive. Her name is Nicole Orovia. Victor begins to tell about Orovia. Robin listened carefully, listening to what happened to the scholars of Orovia and Ohara. At this moment, Victor gestures to Stella, who lowers the curtain and turns off the lights. Then, the scene of Ohara being destroyed by Buster Call began to play. During this process, Robin saw Dr. Kroba being shot, the Tree of Omniscience being destroyed, and even the refuge ship was destroyed. For a split second, Robin felt heartache. This is a very sad story. After the broadcast ended, Victor continued to speak. I have investigated and found out that the reason why Ohara was destroyed by Buster Call is because you violated the laws of the world and studied history privately. After hearing this, Robin was stunned. She still didn't understand what crime they had committed. We obviously didn't hurt anyone. Dr. Qiwuhai said that history belongs to all mankind. We need to understand the blank 100 years of Historia. Your aunt doesn't allow you to add more jam. What if you add more jam? Victor asked Robin. She would get angry and would scold me. Robin replied. The world government prohibits investigating history, and you violated it, so the world government is angry. I say that, can you understand? Victor said calmly, after Robin listened. Suddenly there was silence. She didn't expect this to happen. She thought it was just a normal academic research, but she didn't expect it to be so serious. Where's my mother? Robin asked after he realized it, looking at Victor. Should be publicly executed. The world government has branded her a demon. Victor replied. After hearing this, Robin was completely dumbfounded. She didn't expect that it would be like this. However, Robin is still very smart. She looked at Victor. What about me? I am also a doctor, and I also participated in the research of the historical text. Victor smiled, then made a cigarette clamping gesture. Stella put the cigarette in Victor's hand and lit it. In the smog, Victor said to Robin, your mother must be dying, and you and I will find you a new identity and let you stay by my side. Why? Robin didn't understand why Victor wanted to keep her. Because, Victor said, you're a good candidate. I don't understand? Robin asked, looking at Victor. Victor chuckled. He didn't need Robin to understand. If you can be obedient and be an obedient boy, then maybe I can help you see your mother for the last time. Victor's words made Robin stunned. Want to see her? Victor asked. Robin nodded, tears streaming from his eyes at the same time. Now follow Stella, she will teach you some manners. After Victor finished speaking, he asked Stella to take Robin out of the study. After leaving the study, Robin looked at Stella beside her, and she said, "Can he really help me meet my mother?" "Of course." Stella replied with a look of admiration. Master Victor is omnipotent. "But can he save my mother?" After Robin finished speaking, he shook his head again. Upon hearing this, Stella said a little angrily, "Please cherish everything Sir Victor has done for you, and then dedicate everything to repay his gift to you." Robin froze for a moment, she stopped talking, she felt Stella was angry. Stella took Robin to the maid's room, and she wanted to teach Robin obedience and the skills of serving Lord Victor. Of course, this is also what Victor wants, so that Robin will learn to obey under the influence of his ears and eyes, and be trained to be the toolman he wants. Besides, she has a lot to learn. Victor will teach her too. The game of raising Robin has begun.